protest yesterday outside Customs House and the Dail. Emily Keegan reports.
Over 100 homes have had their remediation options downgraded by the housing agency from full demolition. However, once a review of the IS 465 standard is complete, these applicants will have the chance to get those downgrades reviewed. The announcement was made last night, hours after a 50-person protest was held at government buildings. The Department of Housing says the changes are being made on foot of preliminary results from scientific research into damaged dwellings in Donegal, showing pyrite to be the main reason for crumbling blocks by causing internal sulphate attack. The government has long been criticised for not following the science. However, they say the announcement fulfills their long-standing commitment that the scheme be evidence-based. As of now, there is still no clear timeline on when the review of the standard will be complete by the National Standards Authority.
Meanwhile, the Inishowen Social Enterprise Network met this week to discuss concerns in relation to defective concrete blocks affecting community buildings. In the last number of decades, these buildings have been developed to meet the needs of the community. However, there's currently no scheme in place to address repair works that are needed. In a statement, they say the buildings in question have a combined total annual footfall of around 500,000 people. And to weather now, it will be mostly cloudy today and dry with just a few light drizzle in some places. Highest temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. Back again at 10 o'clock.
Are you finalising your festive favours? Contemplating your Chris Kindle contribution? Well, the National Lottery have you sorted with some instant excitement for this gifting season. It's the Christmas scratch card range. There's hampers and cash, countdown to Christmas and merry money, otherwise known as the Christmas Thrilogy. With over €7 million in prizes to be won instantly, this year's perfect gift might just be a Christmas scratch card. The National Lottery, it could be you. Gift responsibly.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show, with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Happy Thursday. We are back for another edition of the 9 till Noon Show, and this is the 7th of November 2024, and there's so much coming up on the show. We are going to struggle to squeeze it all in, but hopefully it keeps you informed, hopefully it keeps you entertained, and we want you involved in the conversation throughout, of course. We had a bumper number of texts in yesterday. In fact, it's been like that for quite some time now. It's great to see the level of interaction, and we just want to keep that going. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. You can give us a call on 07491 25,000. If you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And of course, if you're listening to the podcast, which many of you do, or for those of you who struggle to get off at night, or maybe you're on night shifts and listen to us as we repeat overnight, feel free, if you have something to say on what we're talking about, to message in. WhatsApp or email, and we'll pick it up the following morning and include it in that program. And of course, you can watch the show if it suits you. Maybe you're at home, you're working from the house, you can stick us on in the corner of your front room on your smart TV. The YouTube app is there if it's a smart TV. Many of you have Fire Sticks for many different reasons, and the YouTube app is on it as well. So no excuse not to watch the show if that's what you want to do. And you can take us with us in your pockets, because we're on Facebook as well, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News, Sport and Obituaries, and on the X platform, if you can find us on it. I'm sure you can. Highland Radio News, I think it is, or Highland Radio. I think it's just Highland Radio. I haven't looked for ages, but anyway. Let's go to the newspapers. Tyrconnell Tribune. The Mulroy Woods Hotel in Milford is to become a direct provision centre in the coming days. The International Protection Accommodation Service is to house as many as 150 people in 32 family bedrooms. The contract with the owners, Peppard Investment Limited, is for 2 years, but the community believes that the international refugee crisis will be with us for many years. Now, I'll be interested to see how this story progresses, and I'll be interested maybe to get... we'll be covering this, of course, as you might. But obviously this hotel, when I say obviously, my understanding is that it primarily housed Ukrainians. But since Ukrainians moved on, maybe into other accommodation and moved home, since the end of the summer, there have been different people living in that accommodation. And I was of the view, or I presumed they were international protection applicants. So that's been the case since the end of summer. I mean, there's dozens of young people from that area in local schools, for an example. So I don't know where I've missed the step here, as to what seems to have been the case since the end of summer, and now talking about the signing of a contract and how many might be there. Because as I say, there's there's already quite a degree of integration amongst what I've been told are international protection applicants in schools and what have you locally. The contract, anyway, I've mentioned that. Let me see, where was I picking up here? In their briefing note to public representatives, the Department of Children, Equality, Disability, Integration and Youth sought to ensure the politicians were informed of the developments in Milford. Deputy Pádraig McLaughlin said this is totally untrue and it never happened. He stated, the department sent us an email only when the deal was done and the contract signed. We were not consulted at any time because this is not about housing refugees. It's all about making a small number of providers more millions of euro and being more wealthy than any of them could ever have imagined. This is all about profits and not people. Milford and Donegal are disadvantaged areas. The infrastructure in a remote location does not. Consider how overstretched facilities are, and that is so relevant in health and education. So let us know if you're from that area, what your views are on this, and maybe you can sort out that bit of confusion I have as to how it seems that the Ukrainian refugees had left, were replaced towards the end of the summer with international protection applicants, and that level of integration that seems to already be there, i.e. The children from those families going to schools in the local areas. And then fast forward to what we're hearing about now, that this has just been thrust on the community. I've probably got it wrong somewhere, so I'd be very interested in getting to the bottom of that. Help us out, 086 60 25,000 if you're from that area. The delay in rolling out the new community safety partnership in Donegal has been branded a hugely concerning, given the recent sexual motivated attacks against women in Letterkenny and the Northwest. This is in the New Look Derry People Donegal News. Donegal Joint Policing Committee was disbanded earlier this year prior to the local government elections to make way for the establishment of local community safety partnerships. Last month, Minister for Justice Helen McEntee announced the appointment of chairpersons to the first 7 ICSPs being established across the country, but Donegal was not included in that rollout. And in October, a man aged in his 20s was brought before Letterkenny District Court charged with the violent rape and sexual assault of a young woman close to Main Street in the town. And I presume the suggestion here is that if the LCSP had been established, that this might have been avoided. There's also talk of sexual assaults in Derry, of course. Speaking to the Donegal News, former chair of Donegal Joint Policing Committee, Councillor Jerry McMonigal, said the absence of the new LCFPs in Donegal is leaving local communities, particularly women, feeling vulnerable. Is his comments on that. Again, that's another thing interested to hear from you on 086 60 25,000. There, Derry News tells us that secondary schools in Derry have spent over 10.2 million on substitute and temporary teachers over the last 5 years. The figures were obtained through Freedom of Information requests made to each school individually. So a lot of work from the paper there. If that's something you're interested in, certainly worth going out and getting your copy today. On to the Nationals now, and it has to be said, a little bit of a meltdown amongst a lot of people in the papers today following the American people's decision, not just the college votes, but the popular votes to re-elect Donald Trump as president. It has to be said there's a great deal of, I don't know how you would describe it, a bit of a meltdown anyway. But just what I'm going to bring you, because we covered this extensively, is what people believe the consequences of Trump's election could be for various major issues. Not least here in Ireland, because the government fears there will be fewer job announcements next year and is worried another cost of living crisis could be on the horizon after Donald Trump's secured a second term in the White House. This is the Irish Independent. Officials are also aware that the effect of the Trump presidency could mean more refugees are driven here from war-torn Ukraine and will need to be housed. Trump has promised to set the US corporation tax rate at 15%, the same as the Irish rate, which would discourage US multinational companies from setting up in Ireland. I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I think a lot of these companies not only want but also need a base in Europe, and we have that here. So I wouldn't share necessarily that concern. But who is to say? But reading on here, the pipeline of investment will slow down, the minister said, so new companies that might have looked at coming in may have been considering Ireland. That won't happen until people know what's happening. Companies would wait to see how radical or otherwise the appointed by the president would be and who would have a say in key policies. Now, again, Microsoft recently announced a whole raft of jobs here for Ireland. And Microsoft's a very big, clever company. if they were concerned of the implications of a Trump election, surely they would have held off for a month on that announcement. I mean, there must be more to it than we're being told, if you know what I mean. And we know Ireland's very attractive for many different reasons. So we'll go to the Irish Daily Mail now and see what Mark Nichol thinks. He's a journalist, of course, to see what he thinks Trump's election might mean for Ukraine. Ukraine could be forced to strike a deal with Vladimir Putin after Donald Trump's victory. This according to a senior UK politician. Philip Hammond, who served as the UK's Defence Secretary and Foreign Secretary, so he knows what's what, also claimed the world was more dangerous following the US presidential election result. He insisted the outcome is a boost for Russia and added, I suspect some of the biggest celebrations will have been in the Kremlin. There's also no doubt Trump will have a deal brokered by himself in mind that will resolve the situation in Ukraine. For the rest of us in Europe, it's a lot more than Ukraine. It's about our ability to live in peace, to live without a continuous threat from our large and aggressive eastern neighbour. If Putin is allowed to win in Ukraine, I do not think NATO's eastern border is stable and secure. Volodymyr Zelensky was among the first international leaders to congratulate Mr. Trump. And what does it mean for the Middle East? Well, Benjamin Netanyahu last night held a new beginning in the alliance between Israel and America after Donald Trump's victory. Netanyahu and Joe Biden didn't really get on. The Israeli Prime Minister has clashed publicly and privately with outgoing US President Biden over the conduct of Israel's military campaign. Senior Israeli figures also feared another Democratic administration would have led to further US threats to restrict supplies of weapons and ammunition. But Mr. Trump's return to the White House is expected to free Israel from US oversight regarding its military operations in the occupied territories, Lebanon, and across the Middle East. And with all that said, though, Joe Biden still is in power, albeit a lame duck, until early next year. Maybe he has plans, albeit unlikely, to come up with a solution before Donald Trump actually has his hands on the power. Right, you'd be forgiven for thinking we didn't know when our own election was going to take place. That's the front of the Irish Times. It doesn't make the front of many papers, but it is the 29th, and perhaps it's no big deal because it's one of the worst kept secrets. Taoiseach Simon Harris has put an end to months of speculation and confirmed that an early general election will be held on Friday, November 29th. Mr. Harris said he intended to ask President Michael D. Higgins to dissolve the Dáil tomorrow upon his return from an informal meeting of the European Council in Budapest. It's kind of interesting because the announcement was actually made on Virgin by Micheál Martin, but the Irish Times is going with the fact that it was confirmed by Simon Harris, albeit after Micheál Martin had let the rabbit out of the hat, or let the cat out of the bag. Harris is expected in Dublin tomorrow afternoon to kick off a 3-week election campaign that will likely focus on housing, government spending, the cost of living and healthcare. Once President Higgins has granted a dissolution of the Dáil, Minister for Housing and Local Government Darragh O'Brien will set the polling date for November 29th. Speaking on the 6-1 News, the Taoiseach said he wanted to wait until the finance bill was passed before calling the election. If you intend to have a postal vote, or maybe you're in a nursing home, hospital or something, by the way, and you may well be on November 29th, you only have really effectively Friday to register for that vote. The Farmers Journal has a political angle to their front page, and it's good news for Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil continue to command the support of farmers, the latest Irish Farmers Journal survey has revealed. With the country on the cusp of a general election, Fine Gael has the support of 37% of the over 1,000 farmers surveyed, with Fianna Fáil in second place on 23%. That represents a 5% increase for the two main coalition partners on the last survey carried out in May 24. If the farming community is any indication of the outcome of the election, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil will be the main parties in the next government. Far from recovering from last May's polling result of 6%, support Sinn Féin has slipped further to 4%. Are you a member of the farming community? And can you understand why a party, which is a significant party, the leader of the opposition, might only be polling 4%? Is it that you don't agree with their policies? Is it that their policies aren't articulated or you don't know them? Is it a case of better the devil you know? I don't know. I'm just throwing phrases out here. But why is support for Sinn Féin so low, apparently, according to this survey, amongst members of the farming community? I'd be really interested in your insights. Let us know. 08660 25,000 or give us a call. It got tetchy, to say the least, in the Dáil during debates in recent days. People Before Profit TD Paul Murphy, he called independent TD Danny Healy-Rae an asshole in the Dáil after he questioned his toddler's gender. This is the Irish Daily Star, if I didn't mention. Mr. Murphy and his wife welcomed their first child, Juniper, in February 2023 and said they would not be gendering the tot. In a Dáil debate on the finance bill on Tuesday evening, the People Before Profit TD interrupted Mr. Healy-Rae when speaking about the carbon tax. "What do you know?" Mr. Healy-Rae said. "So you don't know whether your baby is a boy or a girl." Deputy responded by telling him to F off. He added, "A-hole, you're an effing a-hole." "Well, it's the truth," Deputy Healy-Rae said. "I did not make it up. He told us himself." Several government and opposition TDs interrupted to criticise the comments, with Fianna Fáil's Paul McAuliffe calling Mr. Healy-Rae to withdraw it. Now, obviously, it's fundamentally true, but I suppose you leave the kids out of it, don't you? And family and personal stuff. But anyway, that's how tetchy it got. Is that a sign of things to come over the next few months? The civil case against Conor McGregor is ongoing, and it's covered in all papers, including The Sun. A woman who accused Conor McGregor of rape told a court she thought she'd never see her young daughter again as the MMA star was choking her. Nikita Hand is claiming civil damages against Mr. McGregor and another man, alleging that she was sexually assaulted in Dublin in December 2018. Ms. Hand has accused Mr. McGregor of pinning her to the bed and raping her in a Dublin hotel. The claims are being fully denied and are denied by both defendants. On her second day of giving evidence to the High Court in Dublin, she said that as she was being attacked, she froze and couldn't move or breathe. Ms. Hand broke down as she gave evidence and sought breaks. The court heard that Ms. Hand had to leave her job as a hairdresser and has not been able to work since due to her mental health. She also expressed her disappointment that the DPP, she had reported it to the Gardaí, but the DPP did not see fit to bring criminal charges against Mr. McGregor, paving the way for this civil case there. And a really sad story from down the country, and it's a man, Michael, described as a gentleman, just 56 years of age. Tributes have been paid to a gentleman who died after he was stung by wasps while gardening. Michael Sheehan, a dad of 3 from Cork, was cutting a hedge on Tuesday afternoon at his home in Macroom when tragedy struck. It's understood he may have disturbed a nest and was stung several times. A short time later, he went into anaphylactic shock after what is believed after he's believed to have suffered an allergic reaction. We should all really be, you can never predict these things, but maybe this is a warning to the rest of us. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 stings might not have given him this reaction, but I presume if he disturbed a nest, there's going to be numerous stings. A family member called 999 and the Irish Community Ambulance from Rathcoole landed close to Mr. Sheehan's home. He couldn't be revived, sadly, and was pronounced dead at the scene. Mr. Sheehan's body was removed from the scene to the morgue at Cork University Hospital, where a post-mortem is to be carried out. So a sad note to conclude a look at the newspapers this Thursday morning.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
For all your pharmacy needs, visit the new Brennan's Pharmacy in Letterkenny, now open at the Fort Retail Park right across from the New Dunn Stores and Costa Coffee. With 600 free parking spaces in a convenient location, we're ready to help with all types of prescriptions, medicines, pharmacist advice, vaccinations, plus an extensive range of skincare, vitamins, gifts and much more. Can't make it in? We offer local home delivery within 10 kilometres of Letterkenny, perfect when getting into town is tough. So for all your pharmacy and prescription needs, trusted advice and friendly service, come to the new Brennan's Pharmacy Letterkenny. Call us at 074 970 8060. We're here for you.
The aroma of freshly brewed coffee early in the morning. The soothing crackle of a real fire on a weekend escape. The returning tide on an empty beach. All moments to live for. Like experiencing the 251 Audi range, including the all-electric Audi Q6 e-tron and the luxurious Audi Q3. This is Audi. Voorsprong-Techniek.
Fly Donegal to Glasgow with Logan Air every Friday and Sunday, giving you plenty of time to explore, shop, enjoy the nightlife or catch a football match. Plus, enjoy a free 15 kg check-in bag with every booking. Book now at loganair.co.uk.
Hi there, can I help you? You're looking for something for the garden?
Well, I want a plant for my...
She wants is a nice lay landy hedge, am I right?
No,
And a lovely big hot tub.
Your vote is your voice, so don't let someone else decide for you.
Oh, and a pair of those crouching stone lions. They'd look great either side of your front door.
Do I know you?
That's our new trainee. He's very keen.
Make sure you're registered to vote. Go to checktheregister.ie and be a voter so that it's your voice that's heard. From Comisiún Tábháin, Ireland's Independent Electoral Commission.
And would you like that for delivery?
Yeah, apartment 3, 6th floor.
Oh, you're going to need a crane for those lions then.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Okay, the time now is 23 minutes past 9. We welcome onto the programme General Election Aontú candidate in Donegal, Mary T. Sweeney. Good morning to you, Mary T. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, listeners.
Thank you very much indeed for your time. Right, now you've called a meeting in the Buncrana Youth Club. It takes place this evening. It's at 7:30pm. What's it about?
This evening, it's issues that have been brought forward to me. The people of Inishowen have asked me to come into Inishowen and provide a meeting again about the RSE, like what I ran in Letterkenny, to give parents the opportunity and teachers the opportunity to see what's really happening in the background with the department and education in relation to the relationship sexuality education. Proposed changes that are being made because the curriculum will be changing between now and 2027 in particular. But there are changes being implemented as we speak. And the other issue of concern is the role of the HSE. And there was a change there that came in quite subtly in relation to mental health capacity. The old Act was 2015. Changes in relation to consent, a patient's consent. It was sparked by concerns raised to me by people in the caring profession working as carers in the HSE when they were being told that if a patient, even with a patient with Alzheimer's, refused you to allow them to change soiled wear, then you had to agree with the patient, which was nonsensical in my opinion. And they asked me to investigate this. And when I became more and more confused because there's grave concerns about the autonomy of the HSE and their role and the idea of consent. And we all had this notion that next of kin had a legal standing. Well, that's all been undermined now. Yeah. And I through my research, I met a lady who came from a professional background, and she had her own personal family experience of the brick wall that she was sitting with the HSE in relation to getting access to information, even very serious health information about her sister who was in the system. And it's quite frightening. So people need to be aware of this. And we need to be educated about it because the HSE did have a small meeting in Letterkenny in one of the hotels. By pure luck, I happened to find out about it and attended it. I was not satisfied with the answers that I was given. So I believe that there's a room for the public, especially, it's you or me tomorrow, Greg, God forbid if we had a car crash and our mental capacity is reduced. None of us know the day, the hour, somebody takes a stroke, a change in circumstances, not just for people with children with special needs or people with Alzheimer's in the nursing home. We need to be vigilant of the changes in law that are being made and being slipped in under the rug, in my opinion.
So just recap that. What is that change in that law then?
Well,
policy.
I don't have the full grasp of it because it's difficult, Greg. But what I find out is there's an office of the confidential recipient there. There is one person appointed for the whole country to give family support. One person is not enough if you're having issues in getting information about your loved ones from the HSE because you no longer have that automatic autonomy to find out as next of kin. That's changed. Now, the legal profession themselves have concerns in relation to this.
Is there not a system whereby, just from my experience when someone's in hospital, what have you, that, I mean, next of kin has no legal standing in this country. It never did. We use it. Really what effectively it means is who do you call in a crisis? So that's all it is here. It has no say beyond that. And I'm not trying to contradict you. I'm literally trying to understand it. I thought there's always a point of contact with a member of the family if someone's in hospital or in care.
Yeah, but there's a lot of new positions now that have been rolled in, and I'm not fully au fait with all of them yet. That's why she that's had the experience, the knowledge, is going to talk
Oh, I
and
get
give
you.
the
Right, I
press.
understand.
So one of the things that's come in is a thing called a decision making assistant. You know, these are all new terms. The idea of creating influence with the family. You know, there's a lot of new terms being introduced out there. We had the concept of a ward of court. We had the
I thought
concept.
the you know, because I mean obviously, you know, some of the language we used and the way we did it was archaic. I was under the impression that this was to empower and support, say for instance, you know, people with a mental disability, that's what that person's role would be, to make sure that they weren't exploited, to help them make decisions.
And it seems to have gone beyond that, Greg. It's not as clear cut as that. And I understand from my research that the Law Society has advised solicitors now, like legal power of attorney, you know, these expressions, they're not engaging with it because they think it's not well considered. You know, so we need to find out more. If the Law Society think aspects of this is not well considered, we need to start asking questions
It
why.
is interesting because the only thing I've heard about this up to date is, up until now, is, you know, campaigning and broad welcome from the likes of Donegal Down Syndrome and other organisations, that they thought that that was really, really positive and recognising, you know, people's role in society. So maybe there's other elements to this that they're negative, or I've missed something, Mary T. But certainly interested in hearing from everyone with an opinion, and I'm sure many will be interested in what's being said in this meeting tonight. The SPHE curriculum, several controversies have risen over recent months in relation to this. The government has stated that they feel that what teachers may have been discussing and taught in some classes is being conflated with what young people will actually be taught in certain classes. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know enough about it to have my opinion fully formed in relation to this. But what's the conversation about that tonight?
Well, we have to thank the teachers, number one, the teachers who've stood up, and we have to thank people like the ASTI who give that letter of support to their teachers to not have to teach stuff they're not comfortable with. One of the changes the department has slipped in because of us highlighting this concern is things like where it previously said in the departments and the curriculum, what is said in the group or the class stays in the group, and this is true for the teacher too. That has now been quite dramatically changed to protect privacy. Students shouldn't talk specifically with names when retelling stories. There's an awful difference in that, Greg. So parents, well done. Keep the letters going into the Minister Norma Foley, and keep the pressure on the schools to know that parents need to be informed properly about what's going on. Now, I have other information coming in there. There's other changes randomly been slipped into the curriculum guidelines. And what I did notice was very interesting is one of the resource materials for the teacher is on a sale in one of the departments. I'll send you on the link to it later on there. Some of the stuff has been reduced. It's obviously not going to be used anymore because some of the content on it was quite graphic as well. And even things like teachers uncomfortable with, when you greet your students for the first time, announce your name and your pronouns. My name is Miss Murphy, and my pronouns are she and her. You know, where are they going? I think the American elections has told people we've gone far enough with this. We need to protect the mental health of our children. And the book that I found that has been reduced on the website is one that was supposed to deal with the mental health of children in the schools. And it was, to me, there was a glowing endorsement from the Department of Education in a letter with it. And it's called, the website's called Outside the Box, OTV. And they actually were encouraging children to cry. Greg, there's that much in it. I couldn't, honestly, without doing a specific class or a full session on it, there's that much in it.
Right, well, listen, if people do share your concerns and they want to hear from people, as a retired legal professional and others speaking tonight, they'll attend. It's tonight at 7:30 p.m. It's in the Buncrana Youth Club, and it's in relation to the mental health incapacity. There are concerns being raised on that. I think, as always, and I know you're very responsible, Mary T. Sweeney, that, you know, we all have a responsibility to ensure that we're not necessarily platforming one person's concerns with it, and that we actually get the wider view of the benefits or otherwise. Okay, Mary T. Sweeney, thank you very much.
One thing, can I just say briefly, Greg, just I was the first to highlight the concerns for women on the streets in Letterkenny, and I'm sad, like we still have continuous drop in the Garda numbers. Our Garda teams are not happy. I've talked to so many guards that want to leave the profession. We need to get on top of this immediately. People in power need to start to make a concerted effort to reinstate the Garda confidence in their system, and that's not happening. And as I say, the Milford footpath, nobody took on board when I highlighted 3 times in the last 2 years the footpath between the Milford, the Mulroy Hotel, and the shopping centre down in Milford, which is a couple of 100 yards away. You know, to think that they wouldn't repair a footpath to make it safe for people to walk, and now they're going to ignore a whole community and not consult with them. Not acceptable, and the government's gone too far continuously.
All right, thank you very much indeed. That's Aim to election candidate in Donegal, Mary T. Sweeney there. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number. If you have any views in relation to that, please get in touch or give us a call on 07491 25,000. A caller says, why is Sinn Féin complaining about iPass centres now when their policy is open borders? They haven't complained about it before. There must be an election coming up soon. That's not what their stated policy is, but I understand you're open to interpret it whichever way you see fit, because you're the electorate.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Hi mate, is your brother still in hospital?
He is, yeah. He's 3rd-degree burns everywhere, so he's facing years of surgery.
Does he know he missed the funeral?
No, he hasn't woken up yet.
Ah, no.
Yeah, whatever about the surgery, he'll never recover from that.
Always check your smoke alarm and do everything you can to stop fire starting, because once it does, it will stop at nothing. Find out more at fireireland.ie. A message from the Government of Ireland.
Get into the festive spirit with Pandora's Spend and Save promotion, with exclusive early access for Pandora Club members. Looking for the perfect gift for yourself or a loved one? Save 50% on selected items when you spend €69. Sign up to Pandora Club today. Offer ends 10th of November. Available in store and online at pandora.net while stocks last. Terms and exclusions apply.
Tinny's Toys, your local toy store. Christmas Club is now open. Everything for newborn right up to model collectors. Leck Road, Letterkenny. Or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Did you know that we even give 5% cash back on all purchases when you sign up to our loyalty program? Tinny's Toys, much more than just farm toys. Leck Road, Letterkenny. Or shop online at tinnystoys.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Ready to transform your smile? Discover the magic of Blue Poppy Dental in Letterkenny and Donegal Town. With implantologists, surgical and cosmetic dentists, orthodontists and an endodontist all under one roof, we've got all your dental needs covered. Starting your journey is easy. Call us on 074 91 20355 or book your appointment online anytime through our user-friendly patient portal at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
Shame on Mulroy Woods. What facilities are in Milford and surrounding districts to house welfare tourists, as some would say, as that listener actually described them. The incident in Ballahadeirin regarding the 14-year-olds not being reported in the mainstream media yet. We are seeing it all over TikTok. This is all to protect immigrants so we don't dislike them. Well, see, this is the problem with social media, in that Ballahadeirin is being investigated by Gardaí. They believe it's 2 underage people that were engaged in activities in an abandoned house there, and one of the parties is the 14-year-old you referenced. The other is neither a refugee or seeking protection in this country. So I don't know what you're seeing on TikTok, but these are like everything, it has to follow its legal course now. The warmongers are complaining now because the war may be coming to an end. If you remember, in the beginning of this war, the Donbass area was under attack for several years. Zelensky wanted to broker for peace, but he was persuaded by the US and the UK to fight on. It may seem cynical, but we must also remember that these countries are war machines. Lots of money to be made in keeping war going while innocent civilians and soldiers die needlessly. But I presume there's two things going on there. Firstly, you're saying that there's money in war, which clearly they are, but then you're saying that people might fear that Donald Trump could end those wars, which presumably then would end the stream of money, if that makes sense. Maybe you can help this listener. I'm looking to upgrade my septic tank, as I'm afraid of what damage it might be doing to the environment. I've contacted the Donegal County Council in Milford and they only carry out the inspections. I'd like to know, who do I contact to see if I'm eligible for a grant? Would you or any of your listeners know anything about this? So can you help a listener out there? They're wondering how they can go about getting a grant. Right, okay. Declan Meehan has written, the Mulroy Woods Hotel has been used as an accommodation centre for refugees since spring of 2022. At its height, the hotel hosted over 140 Ukrainian refugees. As Ukrainian people left, they've been replaced by refugees and asylum seekers from other countries. This has been happening since May 2024. And that puts a bit of flesh on the bone, what I thought was common knowledge in the local area. Declan Meehan, thanks very much for joining us.
No problem, Greg. Good morning.
My understanding is that international protection people have been living there since the late summer, and I think somewhere in between 15 or 20 young people from these families are actually already at school. So, and also now I'm reading today that an iPass centre has effectively been dropped on the people of Milford. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying what's right and what's wrong here at all. I'm just confused at the timeline. Can you help me at all?
Well, look, I can, I suppose, only go from my own experience of working with the refugees that have been based in the Mulroy Woods since April 2022. I know that there was a contract change with the Mulroy Woods back in May, and up to 59 international protection applicants have been housed there since then. And there's kind of been a gradual turnover as Ukrainians have either left or been moved on by the department, that they've been replaced by other international protection applicants. So I guess the announcement late yesterday and the coverage of this direct provision centre, for a lot of people in Milford, it might come as a surprise, but for a lot of people, I think that it probably won't, because they know that the Mulroy Woods has been used as an accommodation centre for refugees, either Ukrainian or international protection, for over 2 years now.
But obviously, there can be difference whether it's right or wrong in the public's attitude to Ukrainian refugees and international protection applicants from elsewhere. As it stands, do you know how many IPAS people are in Mulroy Woods?
No, I don't know the exact figures, Greg. Again, from working with them, I'd estimate that there's probably somewhere in and around 100 there at the moment. And obviously this contract for the next 2 years is to accommodate up to a maximum of 150 people across 32 rooms, I might add, which is an average of 5 people per room. So that's what we're looking at the minute. Look, I suppose you have been speaking, or Henry Radio has been speaking to Deputy McLaughlin about this, and I would agree with him on a lot of what he has said. As elected representatives, there was no consultation around this, but I mean, again, this has been in place since April 22, and we were just notified of this last week via email of the 2-year contract, and it doesn't give us the opportunity to highlight the issues that are on the ground here in Milford with regards to additional pressure being put onto schools, onto healthcare, and onto public transport, as well as other community amenities. So again, I mean, the government really should have this process sorted out and streamlined by now. These are the kind of issues that have been raised up and down the country over the past number of years since the increase in numbers of Ukrainians and those seeking international protection has been underway. And yes, they have not
what's the reaction in the community then? Because I find it hard to believe that the majority of people didn't know that there were refugees living in Mulroy Woods. But what has the reaction been to this news that now it's a 2-year contract and speculation that it could be single males that could eventually be moved in there or what? Like, I mean, I want to talk about the infrastructure, but I also want to get from you, and others might disagree with your interpretation of it. What's the sense amongst the local population?
I think the sense among the local population is the majority of people would have been aware, as you've said, Greg, that the Mulroy Woods has been used and is being used for international protection for the past few months. But the overriding thing here is that the people in the community are concerned that this is a 2-year contract. It's a significant increase in population that has already been in place, but it's confirmed now for another 2 years. Mm-hmm. And yet we don't see any plans to invest in key infrastructure to meet the demands that an increase in population brings.
Were you given, and we'll get on to that, were you given any information in the contact you received from the department as to the makeup of these individuals, i.e. the family makeup? Because, of course, whilst at the moment we know for a fact, because there's at least a dozen school-going children there, that it's clearly a mixture of families and others. But the fear could be that as they are processed or moved on or given citizenship or a right to stay or whatever it might be, that then the 150 unvetted lads that we're going to hear about could land. Was there any clarification given on that in the email?
In the email that elected representatives were provided with, it explicitly states that the accommodation in the Mulroy Woods is for families only.
Right, okay. Now, let's get to the infrastructure, because we heard from Mary T, and in fairness to her and others, have been campaigning and highlighting dangers, really. You know, we get lots of correspondence here, Declan, about people, walking on the wrong side of the road in dark clothing, not on the footpath. I think there's an awful lot of education needs to be given to let everybody know in the community what the rules of the road are and what's safe, because it's difficult for me to read it out because often it references people of different nationalities, and I have to be careful too in how I use language in that regard. But anyway, all that being said, the infrastructure doesn't lend itself to safe road usage.
No, absolutely not. I mean, this is something that I've been highlighting since before the local elections, and since the Mulroy Woods opened in April 2022 as an accommodation centre for refugees. The dire need for a footpath and lighting from the town, from the town boundary at Little there, up to Mulroy Woods. This will make it safer for pedestrians and for drivers alike. I mean, I am contacted on the regular, as I'm sure lots of other people are, like yourself included, Greg, about the dangers on that particular stretch of road, even as recently as last night. So, look, that's one component of the infrastructure, and I might add that a campaign to put a footpath for that stretch of road has been in place and running for in excess of 20 years. One of the frustrating things around providing emergency accommodation for refugees is that there's an exemption on planning for a lot of this, right? So if you were looking to house 150 people in an estate at or in and around the Mulroy Woods Hotel, the very first condition of your planning permission would be that you have to facilitate the installation of a footpath and lighting there to link it back to the town. And it's frustrating that that isn't required whenever a business like the Mulroy Woods is seeking to host this number of people in their accommodation. So that's a huge issue.
And also to just in relation to resources, and one of the resources is education, right? And we have to think of all children. We have to think of what's beneficial to the children that are already in a school and what's beneficial to those who may start attending a new school. We know of the overcrowding problem at the school in Milford, of course, because it's been broadly covered here. I think it was an RT this morning and will be this evening. And they're campaigning saying that, we've seen the video and we've seen the footage. The school is incredibly overcrowded, no green space, unsafe steps, accessibility issues. Where is the support for communities to enhance, be it infrastructure, the likes of the footpath, it could be buses, or it could be schools, or indeed capacity in the health service locally? Where are the supports to support the community? Because this is where the anger is going to be driven from.
Yeah, and look, Greg, the short answer there is no avenue for the community to get that support. And we know it in Milford because we've been hosting refugees very successfully, I might add, since April 2022. I mean, at its peak last year, we were hosting over 260 in Milford. So there isn't really avenues for the community to get the support that it needs. Like, obviously, the school is here in Milford is one of the big issues. That's been an issue for decades in terms of the expansion that's needed there. I was down at the demonstration yesterday that the school and the Parents Association had organised, and there's a real sense of neglect and a real sense of being let down. The school is an absolutely fantastic resource. It's an amazing educational institution in the town. It's where I went to school myself, and it's been left behind by the government. And so much more is being asked of it. And so much more is being asked of all of our infrastructure, whether it be education, whether it be health, or whether it be public transport.
It's just also, too, at this point, too, it kind of starts changing what Milford is, for example, in terms of, no accommodation for tourists, for example, or very little accommodation. One texter says, shocking news that people in Milford knew nothing about asylum seekers being housed beside them with no consultation. You're suggesting that's not the case. I think really what I'm trying to do, that everyone has a say in this, right? And we're all from Donegal, we're all from this region. But there's going to be people from outside Milford that are going to read this different. I'm really keen to also hear from people from within Milford as well, as to what their attitude to all of this is. That's very important to me because ultimately they are the people sharing the resources and sharing the accommodation, whereas someone from outside the area can be angry, but it's not their lived experience and may not be fully reflective of the local public attitude. So I want to be careful in how we tiptoe through this one. Personally speaking, now they could be furious and they can flood the switchboards, and that's fine, but I just want it to be truly reflective of the people of Milford.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note as well, Greg, that it's not to dispute if anyone says that they were not aware that international protection applicants were being housed in the Mulroy Woods, then you got to take people at their word in terms of whether they were aware of it or not. But I mean, everyone is aware that it was used for refugee accommodation since April 2022. And look, there's little change in that regard, because what we have here is when we're talking about resources, we're looking at the increase in population. We're also looking at the makeup of the people who are actually resident in the Mulroy Woods. The commitment has been given by government, and I would certainly hope that that is held to, that the makeup of those people living there will be families.
Okay.
But with that comes additional strain on services. For example, Greg, in addition to the pressure on the schools here in Milford, not just the primary school, but also the secondary schools, we also have public transport that is not fit for purpose. We're not on a local link route here in Milford town. We have Patrick Gallagher coaches, which comes through twice a day, and that's it, that links to Letterkenny, as opposed to, say, Rathmullen or Ramelton, which now has 8 links a day to Letterkenny. So there's huge discrepancies there. There's huge shortcomings in the infrastructure. Okay. You can't put 150 careless people into a hotel, expect them to integrate if public transport isn't there.
Okay, just one point before I let you go, and I appreciate your time. A number of people say no one was worried about a footpath out to the hotel for locals or visitors. It's only now that refugees or asylum seekers are in there that the footpath conversation is coming to the fore. My memory is the footpath has been on the agenda for quite some time.
Yeah, look, I can't speak about politicians and their priorities before refugees came into the community, but as a Milford native and resident, I'm certainly aware of the push for it over the past at least 20 years. I think that there's no point in shying away from the point that housing 150 people.
In fairness, that might speak. Maybe then, maybe the person that these people are correct in that. Maybe the political push is on now because it's refugees, and whilst locals, it's a funny phrase that nowadays, but whilst the people resident there all the time may have wanted it, maybe the political push wasn't on like there is now. But anyway, thank you very much.
Just Greg, on that. I think that's fair enough, and I don't think they should shy away from that. It is the case that the push is on it now, but that's because 150 people are resident there without cars. So it changes the dynamic and it changes the traffic on that road. So it only makes sense that it would be a heightened campaign around just because there's more people there, regardless of whether they're refugees or locals.
All right, okay. We'll leave it there. Thanks for your time, Declan Meehan there. As I say, everyone's entitled to their say. Very interested to hear people's views on this, and particularly from the many thousands of you that listen to this show every day from Milford. I also do want to make sure that I'm fully representing your views. They could be positive, they could be negative. We're not filtering them out here. It's just we want everyone to have their say. But as I say, I'd be really keen to get my finger on the pulse of what Milford people feel.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Running a business is never easy. That's why the National Enterprise Hub is focused on helping businesses access a wide range of government supports. We spoke to Conor O'Donovan, the head of the National Enterprise Hub, about the new free service.
The National Enterprise Hub is a new all-of-government service. It was designed to make it much easier for businesses from right across the country to access supports that they might be eligible to from across the government system. It's both digital and over the phone. It brings together over 230 supports from 24 different government agencies. And the whole idea is to put the business owner at the centre of the journey. We've made it really simple to access the supports online, but we've also got 6 people in our HQ in Dublin who are available to answer calls and take business owners through the steps to help them understand what they might be eligible for.
To engage directly with an advisor for support, visit neh.gov.ie or phone 01 727 2100.
What's gravity? When does the grass grow greener? Can people with longer legs jump higher? How are plastic cups made? How filthy are our parents? Which ingredients make the best slime? Why do we dream? Are you faster than a calculator? Could a robot be powered by fruit or vegetables?
Kids are full of curious questions. ESB Science Blast, delivered by the RDS, empowers children to investigate the science behind simple questions just like these ones. Find out how your school can get involved at esbscienceblast.com.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find the perfect present for everyone on your list this festive season. Discover the joy of gifting and make Christmas magical with McElhenney's Ballybuffet. Visit us in-store or online at mcelhenneys.com.
So, mostly cloudy today. It'll be mainly dry with just a little drizzle in places. Temperatures 13 to 16 degrees and mostly moderate, occasionally fresh southeasterly winds, strong at times in western coastal areas. Declan, a caller says, got elected on the back of the Ukrainians. Not right person to be asking. Mulroy Wood sneaked those refugees in drips and drabs. I'm sure Declan would agree with that assessment, but that's yours. Greg asked Declan about tourism in the area. Nowhere for anyone to stay. That is also accurate at a point that I actually did put to him. Morning, Greg. Shocking news that people in Milford knew nothing about asylum seekers being housed beside them with no consultation. Thank you. As I say, I'm not from Milford. I knew they were there. But anyway, I'm not taking a side in this. I'm just trying to figure out where we're at. Could you ask Declan to explain the difference between Ukrainian refugees and IPAS refugees? The IPAS refugees have been moved from Mayo to Milford. Why? Well, they have been moved around the place. Why have they been moved from Milford or Mayo to Milford? Have all of them? I'm not sure of the answer to that. I mean, there is a difference as to how the state treats Ukrainians and then people seeking international protection. So I think we're well aware of that, are we? Hi, Greg. Just another underhand move on the department just before the last local election. The government announced they were moving Ukrainians on and giving back local rural hotels to tourism. But what they were doing at the same time, moving Ukrainians out and putting even more in instead. Mulroy Wood should not be a refugee centre. It's a small rural town like Milford cannot cope with all these extra people. The services are simply not there. This is just another get-rich scheme. Yeah, and some hotels have gone back into regular use, but obviously that is not the case. And also, too, I don't know the makeup of the company or who owns that hotel, but they may well have preferred the revenue from it being an IPAS centre or direct provision, or however it's described, versus, operating in the tourism market as well. So maybe, I'm not saying it was offered. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but maybe there was a business decision made there. Right, okay, I don't have time to get to any more comments because they are quite long and I don't want to rush through them because they're really important. So stay tuned. It is the 9 till noon show. We've got lots to talk about, including Mr. Michael Murphy's returning to the Donegal panel. What do you think about that? That and so much more besides on the way.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Make your next menswear choice at Watson Menswear Letterkenny. From suits to casual wear, there's big names to choose from like Andre, Remus Umo, Superdry and Penguin. If you're going to a special occasion, get fitted in style for less with a 3-piece suit, shirt, tie and shoes, all for just €299. That's at Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at watsonmenswear.com. Christmas Club is also now open and a small deposit will secure any item.
Financial abuse is when people are dishonest in how they manage another person's money, property or benefits, particularly a person who may be at risk.
Surprisingly, a lot of financial abuse is carried out by people known to us. A family member, carer, neighbour, social welfare agent or worker. Prevent financial abuse by keeping in control of your money.
Learn more at safeguardingday.ie from Safeguarding Ireland, supported by the HSE.
At Hidden Hearing right now, get up to €2,000 off state-of-the-art hearing aids, even if you don't qualify for PRSI. Visit hiddenhearing.ie today. T's and C's apply.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out shaneconleycars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Don't miss the Highland Radio Christmas concert on Monday the 9th of December in the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets are just €27.50 each and are available at Highland Radio and ticket outlets including the Mount Errigal Hotel, Simpsons Bar, Carndonagh, the Cope Dunlow and Alexander's Ballybuffet. Or contact us today on 074 91 25000 or visit the outlet at highlandradio.com for details on our package deals.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A Donegal deputy has criticised a lack of consultation with the community in Milford after it was confirmed that Mulroy Woods Hotel is to become a direct provision centre. Deputy Patrick McLaughlin denies that local politicians were informed in advance of the decision, saying they were only made aware after the fact. He also says that placing a direct provision centre in an area where amenities are already under pressure is unfair to locals and refugees alike and is only deepening tensions right across Ireland. In their briefing note, the Department for Integration describes the building as a former hotel, contrary to the fact that bookings and events remain ongoing. Terry McLaughlin says this comes at a time when campaigns are ongoing for a new school in Milford to cope with the current population.
And I'm also mindful that this story breaks just at a time that the community in Milford are fighting for a new school. The school is completely inappropriate, overcrowded, packed, even though the quality of education is absolutely fantastic there. So all of that is happening just as they announce 150 asylum seekers and their families, lots more children. I mean, it's just an insult again and again to communities, and it's also unfair to asylum seekers to put them into these situations.
Well, there have been refugees at the hotel since 2022, with the facility initially used predominantly for Ukrainians. Councillor Declan Meehan says a contract change in May is what brought about a new focus on this situation. He says he agrees with much of what Deputy McLaughlin is saying, particularly in terms of the conditions under which people are living and the lack of local amenities.
There was a contract change with the Mulroy Woods back in May, and there's been a gradual turnover as Ukrainians have either left or been moved on by the department, that they've been replaced by other international protection applicants. From working with them, I'd estimate that there's somewhere in and around 100 there at the moment. And obviously this contract for the next 2 years is to accommodate up to a maximum of 150 people across 32 rooms, I might add, which is an average of 5 people per room.
Today is National Slowdown Day, and already Gardaí across the country have been making what they've termed significant speed detections. One of the biggest was a motorist found to be doing 113 kilometres an hour in an 80 kilometre an hour zone on the R245 at Cashel Shanahan between Letterkenny and Remelton this morning. Gardaí and road safety chiefs are urging motorists to slow down. They're also reminding people that driving conditions are becoming more challenging as we head into winter. National Slowdown Day runs until 7 tomorrow morning. Homeowners affected by defective concrete who've had their remediation options downgraded now have the choice to receive a full technical review of their application from the housing agency. The news follows a protest yesterday outside the Custom House and the Dail. With more, here's Emily Keegan.
Over 100 homes have had their remediation options downgraded by the housing agency from full demolition. However, once a review of the IS 465 standard is complete, these applicants would have the chance to get those downgrades reviewed. The announcement was made last night, hours after a 50-person protest was held at government buildings. The Department of Housing says the changes are being made on foot of preliminary results from scientific research into damaged dwellings in Donegal, showing pyrite to be the main reason for crumbling blocks by causing internal sulphate attack. The government has long been criticised for not following the science. However, they say the announcement fulfills their long-standing commitment that the scheme be evidence-based. As of now, there is still no clear timeline on when the review of the standard will be complete by the National Standards Authority.
Meanwhile, the Inishowen Social Enterprise Network met this week to discuss concerns in relation to defective concrete blocks affecting community buildings. In the last number of decades, these buildings have been developed to meet the needs of communities. However, currently there is no scheme in place to address repair works that are needed. The buildings cater to 500,000 people in the community each year. The manager of Malin Community Centre, Councillor Ali Farron, says with an election on the horizon, candidates need to be willing to get a scheme in place if elected.
There's many community facilities within Inishowen that are showing massive signs of deterioration or defective concrete blocks. And as managers and committees, we're very, very concerned on our future, the future of these centres. At the moment, there is no scheme in place. We're at a loss, for want of a better word. There doesn't seem to be any government body with any urgency to look after this. So we're now in the mouths of an election, so we're trying to highlight this issue.
Mostly cloudy today, but staying mainly dry apart from some drizzle in places. Top temperatures 13 to 16 degrees Celsius in mostly moderate, occasionally fresh southeasterly winds, strong at times in western coastal areas. That's Highland Radio News. Check all of the latest news on our website, highlandradio.com. We're back with news headlines again at 11. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
The Obituary notices this Thursday morning, November 7th. The death has taken place of Sarah Ann Boyle, née Kelly Creasla. Wake at the family home today from 3 p.m. until 8 p.m. Strictly family only, please, at all other times. Funeral mass in St Michael's Church, Creasla, tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Burial afterwards in Doe Graveyard. The mass can be viewed on mcn.live. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Creasla Day Centre, care of any family member or James Harkin Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Dennis Dolan, Malin Road, Moville. Wake is private to family only. Funeral mass will take place on Saturday at 12 p.m. in St Mary's Church, Ballybrack, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. The death has taken place of Eileen Stevenson, Ballygay, Milford. Private burial will take place this morning with a service of thanksgiving in Milford Presbyterian Church at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Family flowers only. Donations, if desired, to St Eunan's Nursing Home Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
It's never too soon to let your family and friends know you're thinking of them at Christmas by sending them a handwritten card. Send magic with Christmas stamp booklets. You can buy them in-app or online with free next-day delivery. Send Christmas love early this year. On Post, for your world. See onpost.com/Christmas to find out more. T's and C's apply.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Right, okay. Greg, the reason a lot of IPAS and Ukrainian communities are moving is because most of the places they were in did not have fire certs. The process can take up to a year, and hence many could remain while the process was ongoing. But once it fails, they have to move. The move to hotels is because they already have fire certs in place. Okay, thanks for that. Why are immigrants being sent to rural Ireland, asks another listener. There are plenty of places in Ireland that can take them, yet we from Donegal are sent to Dublin or Galway to access health services. They're never sent to Dublin or anywhere close to Dublin, says the listener. Why are so many critical of Sinn Féin regarding immigration? They aren't in government. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Greens are, but doesn't get the same criticism. Very strange. Well, they do. The government takes a great deal of criticism on immigration, and Sinn Féin themselves conceded that they got the immigration messaging wrong and clarified their position in relation to that. So the party themselves have recognised the public backlash they had, but I take your point. People knew Ukrainians were in Milford and would be going home sometime, but this refugee centre will be forever. This will be a bigger issue in coming elections than it was in the Euro and local elections. Mulroy Woods can pay for the footpath as they're the only ones making the money from them, says a listener. It's an interesting comment. What politicians are involved and in bringing refugees to Ireland? They need to declare their financial interests in housing refugees. It's an interesting comment. Our government can house refugees but can't find accommodation for our fellow Irish citizens who have houses with defective blocks. Shame on them. Another, can you ask him, are they going to be vetted? As we've been lied to as usual regarding this. There's an issue with vetting really as well too, because it depends where people come from. If someone comes from a particular country, for an example, how do you vet them? You're not going to have proper access to. Sometimes the job would be clarifying, people's identity and what have you. But unless they sort of come through Europe and something's happened, what database are you vetting them against? Lots mentioned about vetting and vetting this, that, and the other. But think about the reality. You can only vet someone based on their past record, and where is their record? Do you have access to it, and so on and so forth. When an IPAS centre is set up in an area, it'll be a continuous revolving door system. It takes people in, processes them, and when they move on, they take in the next. However, if you place a centre in a rural area like Loughnure, Gortahawk or Milford, which is already under pressure lacking resources, no jobs available, maybe the only hotel in the area for what little tourism they get, then of course people are going to have concerns. And listen, we're platforming people's concerns here. I'm not in any way trying to stifle that. I hope I haven't given that impression. That's not the point. That's what we're here for. If people have concerns about anything, it's to platform them and give them an opportunity to have their say, and people are always very respectful in how they express their views. That's the tone of what we get into this show. But it was just, my only question is that I was kind of, and I'm not from the area, I knew what was going on there, and I'm just was trying to timeline as to why now it was the big story that this was the type of centre it was, when it was clear that was ongoing since the end of summer. Totally inadequate conditions in Milford School. No money seemingly for years to upgrade the school for the community. In other news, an agreement has been made for the relocation of 150 asylum seekers into the Mulroy Woods Hotel in Milford. Just goes to show that this government has the interests and care of its own citizens well behind the farce of mass immigration into the country. Another caller says, on a separate issue, I'm very worried about the SPHE programme. The secrecy with it towards parents is scary. I don't want my children taught it will go into school and ask to speak to the principal and ask them what is going to be taught to your child. Highlight the areas you have concerns. What don't you want them taught? And say to the principal, I don't want my child to have access to this. So if this is being taught in the school, I want them out of the class. That's the way to do it. We can't rely on, and as useful as they are, public meetings and people having concerns, but there might be concerns, but maybe they're not concerns, and it might be told, but it's not, and there's 8 books, and they might use. We have to, as parents, take control of the situation, and if you have concerns, go into the school, go into the setting, and say what's going on. It's like that conversation we had about nail polish and hair braiding or whatever it was in prime. We are the parents. It's our responsibility. We have to go in and ask in a specific school, if you're concerned, what's being taught, what's going to be taught to my young person. And if you don't like what's being taught, then you have to make sure the school makes provision, if it's possible, for them not to be in that class. That's not going to be resolved at a public meeting in Letterkenny, Milford, Azerbaijan. It can only be really resolved by you going in and satisfying your own concerns with the school. Hi, Greg. After the Trump news, I hear he's going to make golf great again. In other global news that people may have missed, Michael Murphy is back. You could say the Murph wants back on the turf. And the sale of togas and O'Neill Schultz will no doubt sell out too. It's purely coincidence that Gladiator 2 is out tomorrow. Hashtag Murphy's Matches. All right, thanks for that.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 7th of November, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €7,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S4. It's game number 45. The jackpot number is 43. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 69, 38, 29, 41, 59, 23, 22, 19, 64, and finally 61. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Níl sé éasca gnó a reachtáil, ach ba chógamach sé éasca ruchtainna áil ar haceocht. Is é an Milford náisiúnta nua an inse éonar de haceocht ile an rialtas do gnó. Le breis agus céadach tú takeocht in éon áit amháin, tá sé níos éasca ná riamh diontas, cóirle, ilmhaint agus go leor eile aimsiú. Agus ná bíoh imniart mar bhfuil iscad cattá weit, tróróí ar bhrin chorachú gach céim den bhealach. Tuair cuairt ar nih.gov.ie chun fólam chunas is féidirlinn cabhla. An Milford náisiúnta, tasíonn an takeocht an seo, tionsclúftachuid rialtas na hÉireann.
Are you thinking about university? Then look no further than Atlantic Technological University. Come to our open day at ATU Donegal Letterkenny on Thursday 14th of November, where you can find out about our CAO, part-time, online and postgraduate programme offerings. Don't miss out on this chance to explore all that ATU has to offer. See you in ATU Donegal Letterkenny on Thursday 14th from 9:30 to 1pm. Register now at atu.ie/open days. ATU, your future is here.
Test drive the 251 Suzuki range at Barry Brown Cars, Milford and Donegal Town. Call to their test drive event on November 11th to November 17th. Unmissable offers like 0% finance and 7-year warranty. Test drive the Suzuki range at Barry Brown Cars, Milford and Donegal Town. Suzuki, voted one of the most trusted and reliable brands on the market.
The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
And you're welcome back. And in studio with me is Declan Boyle. He's the CEO of Donegal Sports Partnership. Good morning, Declan. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Yeah, and we're announcing on this show, well, I'm accidentally framed that as if we're revealing it. We're not revealing it, but what we're doing on this programme now is inviting applications for the club development funding for 2024. So tell us about this funding stream.
Yeah, listen, I suppose I'm CEO of Donegal Sports Partnership, and we have that fund at the minute for all the clubs that are out in Donegal, and we've a vast variety of clubs doing wonderful jobs, keeping people active around the whole county. So we have club development grants that are open and available up until next Thursday, the 14th of November, and there's about 35,000 of a budget available for clubs to go and apply, and that's obviously looking at initiatives to attract people into their club. It's funding for sports equipment, up to we have up from €300 minimum up to a maximum of €1,500 that's available for clubs to apply. So it's for sports equipment, the stuff that they need, obviously integration initiatives for people with disability, older adults, and also looking at new communities as well. And we have a lot of new communities in Donegal, and obviously a program as well for mental health and getting people involved in sport and physical activity. And it's there for clubs to avail of, and we want as many clubs to apply as possible.
And how are we defining clubs, if you know what I mean?
Sports clubs that are affiliated to national government bodies, they have to be affiliated. So if it's a GAA club, they're obviously affiliated to the GAA. If it's an FAI soccer club, they're affiliated to the FAI. So that's the affiliation that has to be involved in it. So anybody that's affiliated to their NGB, national government body, they can apply for funding through ourselves. And when they're filling in the application, if they're not 100% sure what they're doing, they can pick up the phone and give us a buzz. All the information is on our website as well and on Facebook as well.
But if you go to the bother of starting the application process, you want to make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and then it can be judged on its merit and not an incomplete application or something.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a difficult thing. You know, we're very conscious that people that are filling in these applications are also running clubs, and they've busy schedules, and they've obviously life outside of being involved in sport clubs as well. So we try to make it as easy and transparent as possible. We do want people applying, obviously, and we also want to make sure that when they do apply, that there's funding there available for them, and they secure funding for their club.
Up to 1,500, I suppose, on the scale of some of the announcements we've had recently, relatively modest. But that being said, still not insignificant. You know what I mean? Clubs often are trying to spread money in various different places. If there's a membership, trying to keep that low. This could be really quite significant to just maybe either fully funding or finishing off the funding for an initiative they have, or a particular piece of equipment, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. And that's the key. You know, obviously we had the sports capital funding, and we had a large scale sport and infrastructure funding that was announced there recently, and that was a lot of funding for a lot of clubs around the country. But yeah, listen, it's small compared to the sports capital funding, yeah, for sure. But it may make a difference, you know, if it's €300 or €400 or €500 for a club, they can buy maybe balls, bibs, cones, slalom poles, water balls, anything like that. They make a wee bit of a difference and make life a wee bit easier for coaches. So that's the key, really. And it is small money compared to everybody else, but it can make a difference.
No, it's not insignificant. That's what I was saying. And the words that are coming up are accessibility, integration, inclusion, right? Does that mean that applications with that theme will be looked on more favourably?
Not necessarily. You know, I suppose they are. That we have the three themes really, and as integration, as you say, is mental health, and as obviously there's sports equipment as well. So we're very conscious that obviously things have changed in Ireland. There's a lot of new communities coming into Ireland, different cultures, and we want them obviously to be inclusive. We want clubs to be inclusive and to invite them in and to get them involved in their clubs as well. And so there is that opportunity for new communities, hopefully, and clubs to obviously have some sort of come and try days, open days, anything to invite new people into the club, and that's obviously expanding the membership of the club and
increasing participation.
Yeah, exactly,
which is what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's a relatively narrow window to apply. The portal's open now. Closes at 5 p.m. on Thursday, November 21st. If people want more information about the process, the application process, which they may wish to before they undertake it, the website's there. There's someone on the end of the phone, the email's there, so you let people know how they can contact you.
Absolutely, yeah. So listen, they can contact the office on 074 9116 and also the email address is funding@activedonegal.com. So either one of those, pick up the phone. Don't be afraid. Even when you go through the process, if you're not 100% sure, pick up the phone and we can talk you through the process. As I say, we want the money to be used. There's €35,000 available, 35,000 available for clubs. So we want that to obviously to be used up as much as possible, and clubs to apply.
All right, listen, thanks very much for calling in, Declan. I really do appreciate it. We've got those contacts here. Of course, if people are more familiar with our contacts, we can pass them on then, and we'll also put them up on our social media. But for now, thanks very much indeed. All right, that's Declan Boyle, CEO of Donegal Sports Partnership. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Right, a caller says, "Hi Greg, I'm away for 2 weeks at the end of November. Do you know if there's any way I can vote before I leave, or is it a case that I will miss the opportunity to vote due to the short notice of calling this election?" Well, who can take part in a postal vote? A postal vote's provided for in respect of certain categories of persons: Gardaí, Defence Forces, diplomats. That's not really going to speak to an awful lot of our listeners. But those who are unable to vote in person at the local polling station because of illness or disability, electors whose occupation, service, employment makes it likely they'll be unable to vote in person on polling day, full-time students registered at the home who are living elsewhere while attending education in the state, anonymous electors or members of the household of the person whose safety would be at risk if their name and address were published on the registers, prisoners. But I'm not sure that covers if you are away on your hollybobs. I don't see a provision for that. So if you are away because it's a holiday, I don't see it's included here. But let me dig a little bit deeper and see what else I can find out for you. Thank you very much for that. All right, Oisín Kelly is joining us very shortly, so stay tuned for that. We're going to be talking about Michael Murphy's return to the Donegal panel. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take a quick break and we'll move on after that.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Home improvements are well worth making, especially when they build towards a more sustainable future for us all. SSE Airtricity is here to help with the Generation Green Home Upgrade. From insulation, heating, solar panels, windows and doors to full home retrofits, we're your one-stop shop for energy solutions to suit all budgets. It's a simple, hassle-free process with end-to-end project management and a streamlined SEAI grant application process. So make some home improvements that will make a real difference at ssceairtricity.com/home upgrade. Registered with the SEAI for home energy upgrades. Grants offered are provided by the Government of Ireland through the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland.
Every year, thousands of people go to their very first concert. Our boosted signal at large events means they can always call a taxi to get home.
Mom? Yeah. It was grand. Do you think you could pick me up?
Every connection counts, which is why Ireland can count on our network. Vodafone. Together we can.
Subject to coverage availability. Limitations and terms apply. See vodafone.ie/terms.
Are you a self-assessed income taxpayer? Use Ross to pay and file online by Thursday, November 14th. If you're not yet registered for Ross, do so today at revenue.ie. Avoid a surcharge, interest, penalties and a possible tax audit. Don't miss the November 14th deadline. Pay and file on time.
Looking for the ideal car for your next adventure? Explore the Volvo range of electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles at our Autumn 251 event. Choose our compact, all-electric Volvo EX30 for big performance in a small package, or our new 7-seater XC90 with next-gen user interface and a hybrid backup plan. Take your next trip in safety, style and comfort. Test drive your 251 Volvo today. Visit McKinley Motors or see volvocars.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
For the biggest names in perfumes and aftershaves, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Dior, Armani and Hugo Boss, Victor and Rolf, Marc Jacobs and Lancôme. Also Gucci, Yves Saint Laurent, Prada and many more. From timeless classics to celebrity favourites, there's a perfume or aftershave for everyone at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie.
The Big Cope clearance sale is here. Amazing discounts across all departments, from fashion to home goods this week. Visit our Dunlow store or shop at thecope.ie with fast shipping and easy returns. Hurry, sale ends this Sunday at the Cope Dunlow.
Well, he is back and everyone seems to be celebrating. He's not Donald Trump. He is Michael Murphy. That's some comparison.
Donald Trump and Michael Murphy.
It wasn't a comparison. It was about the returns this week, right?
Yeah.
So, Michael Murphy's returning with Donegal for the 2025 season. It became public yesterday. Was there any rumblings about this?
There's been lots of rumblings.
But anything firm?
There's been nothing firm. There's been lots of speculation that Michael was back training, going himself and training really, really hard. And obviously Donegal aren't due back, I think it's till early December. So Michael has been getting himself in shape with the projected to come back with Donegal in 2025. Obviously this is something that himself and Jim McGuinness have been talking about for a while. So yes, there was lots of rumblings and rumours and speculation about what was going on, and all you had to do was talk to a few Glensfolly people if you met them out and about at underage training, and but there was nothing ever concrete. So there wasn't until yesterday, when one of the media outlets that he actually works for, the BBC, Thomas Niblock, then sort of broke it, and it all just escalated and took off after that.
So what do you...
He obviously turned down the Pundit Day work, and then that's what started the...
Why do you think he's coming back? Because he's got an All-Ireland title, right? He's got his 5 Ulsters. He's got 5 All-Stars. So he's been there, done that. He owes the sport nothing, right? Do you believe that he would be, I don't know the man, motivated to come back with a view to saying, right, I can make this 2 All-Ireland titles, for an example. Like,
Yeah,
do you
quite
believe
possibly,
he's come
yeah,
back
yeah.
in the knowledge that, right, he's looking at what was achieved with this squad. He obviously knows Jim McGuinness well, and he thinks there's another title in him. Do you think that's his motivation?
There's no doubt Michael Murphy has something to give. Like, even when Michael retired, and you really couldn't question at that stage him retiring for his commitment and the abuse that his body took for the county and for Donegal GAA. But you still even felt at that time that Michael would have had something to give.
Mhm.
And then when Jim McGuinness came in, obviously there was talk, will Michael make a return here? But he did say last year now that he was done. But that has changed. Donegal weren't too far away. Let's be honest, they weren't too far away from an All-Ireland final.
They could be 1, 2,
yeah,
or 3 players
they're
away.
not. Exactly. And Michael Murphy, like, bringing Michael in, he still has a lot to contribute. He's still one of the finest footballers. I watched him in the club championship in several games, and he was able to turn matches, and so he still has a lot to contribute. And there's no doubt in Michael's head, because he looks after himself and he trains well. And
You'd be forgiven also
he would have a professional look on everything, including what he does in a sporting environment. So, like, he's not coming back just to be part of a squad. He's coming back to contribute to a team and help them to win.
And he's only 35. I mean, some All-Stars this year are older than him. Do you know what I mean?
Player of the year was around about the same age. Paul Conroy of
he's
Galway.
older than him, so you'd be forgiven for... Unless you check his age, you'd be forgiven for thinking he's older because he's contributed so much to the game.
There for so long. Like, he was part of a Donegal senior panel from when he was very, very young, and even he was one of the youngest captains ever to lift the Sam Maguire in 2012 when he done that with Donegal. So it feels that he's been around a lot longer, maybe that he is older, but he's not. He's only in his mid-30s, and these rules, Greg.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, these rules.
Let me ask you the question, actually, because I'd be very interested in your answer. What rules do and don't come in, right? A lot of people and people that know a lot about this game say it will benefit him, right? Do you believe he hardly would have considered the rules as part of this decision, would he?
Well,
Would
you'd
he?
ask
I
him
don't
that
know.
now.
Can you get Michael Murphy on the phone, please? I want to ask him a question.
He may take. There may be a backlash. Not so much a backlash, but it may be said that Michael was part of this football review committee, and he was a core part of it, where these rules were being brought in, these enhancements were being brought in to make the game more attractive. Maybe he was sitting during that process going, you know what, it might suit me. These news of these, because the way Michael played, and when you're there and you see it, and he's double marked and treble marked, he wasn't getting too much room. Michael Murphy will have the beating of anybody in a one-on-one situation in this country, hands down. But he was never afforded that opportunity for most of his career. There was a time that did happen.
Towards the end of his career, though, did he not?
He was out playing more of a midfield role and pulling strings. So
the rules only apply if they move him back up front.
Well, if Jim McGuinness, what's the plan for Michael Murphy? Is the plan around the middle? Is the plan going to leave him up top? I would love to see him up top. Love to see him up top. You imagine him, Oisín Gallen, Patrick McBurdy, maybe add Conor O'Donnell in there from Carndonagh, or even Niall O'Donnell. Like, that's a potent three that you would have up top that could terrorise any defence. And that's what Donegal supporters are getting excited about. Nobody's really mentioned over the last 24 hours about Michael Murphy playing a role in midfield. It's all about
that's what I'm saying.
It's all about up top, this 3v3. But these proposed rule changes haven't come in. That's if they come in. There is, like, you don't form a committee like what was put together to find enhancements, and there's 7 core enhancements to it. I don't think they're all going to come in, but they have to bring some of them in, because there has to be some sort of end product to the work and the effort that was put into it. And it seems to be that this 3v3 situation is going to be one of the rules that comes in. Is that a factor in Michael making a decision to come back? Possibly.
Well, that means that in part of the conversation,
if I was Michael Murphy,
yeah,
I'm just giving my opinion. If I was Michael Murphy and I was sitting in that and I was watching what was going on,
that means that's obviously been part of the conversation with Jim McGuinness. Then,
yeah,
you know,
like these managers now are preparing, and they're thinking about their preparations, about what they have to do. With these new rules coming in, they're not going to get much time to try them because there's no pre-season competitions. There will be challenge matches, but we're not going to see them properly in a competitive arena until the last weekend in January when the league starts.
I think this also really is quite important. It shows the determination of Jim McGuinness as well, in that you know, often after a season ends, you wonder what's next. But he obviously is planning.
He's looking for
all
nuggets.
guns blazing.
He's looking for extra nuggets that can take them another step.
Percentages,
yeah. So, like, again, as we said, they weren't too far away from making an All-Ireland final. They won an Ulster title in his first go. And another thing I'm thinking of Michael Murphy as we're talking, even his presence again in the changing room, with all that experience that he has. Yes, there is players that he has went to the trenches with before, but there's other players that are in there that haven't been involved. So there's other aspects of Michael Murphy that
there's also other
can
people.
factor
There's
in
also
here.
other people that looked after the trenches when Michael wasn't there.
Exactly, yeah, there was.
You know what I mean?
Of course there was. But what you want is your best players representing Donegal.
Does he go in a captain?
And given everybody the opportunity to play their best and try and get something out of the
Do you
year.
think he's captain?
I think he's captain. Well, Michael was captain for so long. Patrick McBird is the current captain. That's a decision for the management, I suppose, the senior players. I don't think Michael will come back as captain, but listen, you never know. But it's great to have him back, and I don't think I've seen so much on social media and across media and radio and newspapers and different things online about Michael Murphy. I think it was more made about the comeback than there was about his retirement.
Well, do you know what? There's not many players in this country. There's not many players that get national attention for returning to a county sub, and he's one of them because he's so special. Or it just adds another little.
It's very exciting, Greg.
Exactly, another layer of excitement for next season.
If he's going to play in Kerry in January, like there'll be a lot of Donegal supporters who will be quite willing to make that trip down there just to see Michael Murphy back in a Donegal jersey.
Brilliant stuff, Oisín. Exciting times ahead. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay, Greg.
And the scores on tonight, is it?
Scores on tonight. Full of football, full of soccer tonight. What's on tonight? Keith Cowan, Patrick Michael Linney, Mark Connolly, all looking forward to the FAI Cup final. Derry City's playing Drogheda United this weekend. We'll also hear from a guy called Andrew Cassidy, who is the man behind the programme City View at the Brandywell. He's been doing that job for 10 years, but he decided to put a book together where he spoke to past players of Derry and done interviews. So it's out at a good time. It came out a number of weeks ago, and obviously the Cup final, so we thought we'd give Andrew a shout. Sea Rovers and Carramina FC, two clubs you probably never heard of before, Greg, but they're involved in a huge game on Sunday in a Shield competition. They're currently top of Division 2 of any show, and we tried to sort of reach out to clubs locally in a segment that we do. And it's the turn of Sea Rovers in Carramina and any show on this weekend. And there's one other topic on the programme: women's football. Finn Harps under 19 women's are playing Galway on Sunday in the League of Ireland Women's Academy under 19 Shield competition. So we're speaking to their manager Paddy McLeod.
Did Derry go in against Drogs as favourites for that game?
Oh,
they are the big favourites, aren't they?
Big favourites. Drogheda have a bigger game the week after because they're in a relegation promotion playoff. If they lose it, they'll drop. But they're in a cup final. They will be seen as huge underdogs, and Derry will be rightly in his favour. Now, Derry have had disappointment the last few weeks, losing out in the league. Is that going to be a factor in their performance at the Aviva on Sunday? You don't know, but we'll see what happens. But Derry would be big favourites for that.
All right, Oisín, thank you very much indeed for that. Oisín Kelly there. Any views on Michael Murphy's return? Where would you like to see him play? What impact do you think it might have on Donegal in the season ahead? 086 60 25,000. Great to have Michael back, but it is a year too late. I think if we had him last year, we would have an All-Ireland. I don't know, Oisín, about that. I think we'd had a better chance of one. We'd had a better chance.
You would have had a better chance, though. It doesn't necessarily, just because Michael's there, wouldn't have guaranteed that you're going to have an All-Ireland. And we have to wait to see what role he's going to play. Like, obviously, Michael, the age that he is, injuries at this stage too. Like, you have to manage your body right. And
he's had a couple of years off.
He's had a couple of years off, but he has to get back now.
Sugar.
I don't think it's going to be any problem for him to get back up to the level that inter-counties played at. We mentioned these new rules, and obviously it's a lot more taxing on players who are involved in the 11 on one side of the pitch, and not so much the guys that are being left up top and on 3v3. So there's a lot of other things to factor in. We have to wait and see what role Michael will play. Will he be the man that's going to be leading the way alongside Oisín Gallen, the two men up top from the opening whistle of the match? Or is Michael Murphy going to be seen as the big impact sub? 20 minutes to go, he comes, he lifts everything. So we don't know but it all depends on how his body reacts to this, and if he can stay injury free. That's the only concern you would have is if he picks up an injury at the age at times. But that's the science behind it today as well.
I can't.
Like Anthony McFadden's in there running the show for Donegal in relation to what's going on with the S&C, and it's a lot more manageable now than what it was. Say when Donegal won there in 2012.
Sure. I mean, I could do that. I can't get out of bed.
You would have thought it was Christmas yesterday, the way some people were.
I know, you're so excited. All right, Oisín, thank you very much indeed. Jerry McKeever is an independent candidate in the 2024 general election. He's with me now. Jerry, good morning to you. Nice to speak to you.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on. It's my first time on. Thanks very much.
Exactly. It's great to have you on, Jerry. I suppose before we get down to an issue that you're raising, as I've said a number of times on this show, a lot of us talk, not all of us stick our head up there to have a go at it. Why did you decide to run in this election?
Well, Greg, I'm a barber in town, and I think the ear's very close to ground. You hear about dysfunctionality and planning and law and order and everything every day. And I think society is disappearing. As Maggie Thatcher once said, there's no such thing as society. We're moving towards that. I think our freedoms and our rights are disappearing to a certain degree. And I just think we're almost expecting things to get gradually worse. It becomes normalised. So therefore, just accepting it. And I think at times someone actually stood up and said, stop. And I'm sure there's others like me, hopefully, in Donegal standing and another county standing.
Okay, right, and you're putting your name on the ballot paper and people can be able to make that decision. What difference do you think you can make as an independent, Jerry?
Well, I have this idea, if I can actually get voted in, that on the first day, I would love to actually try and find the names, the email addresses of all the new independents, seeking to get together, think tank on a new wavelength, because I think we need radical change in this country. I mean, again, there's a lot of joint thinking on my policies. I think I'm been getting this call because I had a press release out about the fact people don't feel safe in the streets of Letterkenny and other towns. But joined up thinking suggests to me that if we can incentivise our guards to stay in this country, to work in this country, and I think that's achievable through allowing us to build affordable housing. The government putting in massive levels of infrastructure, water and sewage to allow us to build houses for free of plan permission. And this is one of the ways we can actually incentivise our guards, our teachers, our nurses, our young to stay in the country. I would love to think that in 4 years' time we could have a country, if we could enact new policies, that our young want to come back to from Australia. They really do even want to leave here in the first place. Perhaps, Greg, this is too early for this, but I would love to think if I can go up and plant the seed, get not even farmer group involved in the group, who could actually get these radical new ideas out there. Maybe the time the next election comes around, we might have a completely radical way of thinking. For me, the easiest suggestion is let's build affordable housing.
Talk to me about your concerns on how safe people feel on the streets. Obviously, from what you've said, this is what people are saying to you. What are they saying?
Yeah. Well, you hear all the time, we'll not walk the streets tonight. I mean, that's basically what I keep hearing on maybe every day. If you bring the topic up at all, people would walk the streets in Letterkenny. It's very, very sad. I mean, we have a smashing town here, but law and order isn't what it used to be, and we need to incentivise our Gardaí, I think.
Jerry, can I just before we talk about how we salute, I just want to get down to how people feel, Jerry, because obviously, with community Garda information on this programme and other information we get from Gardaí and from members of the public, are the streets of Letterkenny unsafe in your view? Or do people feel... Just 1 second, Jerry, sorry. Are the streets actually unsafe, or do you believe that people feel they're unsafe?
It could be a little bit of both now, Greg. Certainly people feel that way, and if the perception is there, we should do something about it. We have seen a decrease in the number of Gardaí. We need more Gardaí. There's barracks closing all over the place. So, is law and order present in this country anymore? It could be perception and what's anything else, but I don't think it's all perception, Greg. The perception comes from somewhere, and surely if that perception is there at the moment, we need to nip this in the bud. If it's not as real as people think it is, You didn't nip this in the bud. We can't wait for this to develop even further. You know, there was an attack down the street again Saturday night. And, you know, that's not basic general knowledge around the town that it happened. Things happen now at the stage.
I remember going out in Letterkenny for years, and there was always, you know, scraps on the streets, outside takeaways, inside the pubs, random one-punch attacks we've been covering on this show for years and years and years. That's why I'm not from Letterkenny, Jerry. That's why I'm asking, is the town less safe, or do people feel it's less safe? And what do you think is making people feel it's less safe? What has changed in the town, Jerry, that makes you think, and as I say, it's only based on maybe what people are telling you. Is it less Gardaí? Is that why people feel less safe now?
Well, you always hear people saying, what happened to community policing? We don't see Gardaí in the street. And I don't blame the guards for this. You know, we have a diminishing number. We lost over 5% of our Gardaí in a 3.5-year period up until August last year. To change the topic slightly, we lost 40% of our traffic core in the last 15 years. You know, our Gardaí numbers are diminishing, and this is part of the problem. And, you know, I mean, you know, as I say, you know, drugs are a major problem. You know, there was a programme there done about the streets of Dublin about a year and a half ago in RT that basically explained that O'Connell Street and its artery streets are violent drug dens. And Helen McAtee walked down the street there maybe 4 or 5 months ago into O'Connell Street and said she felt safe. She had a couple of bodyguards behind her. Of course, she felt safe in broad daylight.
Yeah, well, I don't think anyone fell for that one. In fairness, Jerry, even people that support her.
No, but it displays to me the fact that, you know, the government won't even admit the problem exists. The main thing is, let's say the perception is there that the streets are not safe at night, and let's say that perception is a slight exaggeration on the situation. Surely it should be nipped in the bud. Surely look at Collins Street. The government must realise that this problem exists, must acknowledge it, and must do something about it.
Do you think the changing demographic is leading to this fear? You know, people seeing people of different nationalities in different areas of the town. Again, we contact the Gardaí regularly on this when things come up. There's no overrepresentation of different communities in the crime figures, and there's no sizable increase in crime actually in and around Letterkenny. So I'm not saying it's happening, right? I'm just wondering, if it is somewhat perception, is it other people that have lived here all their lives, or are people unsettled by a change in the cultural landscape of Letterkenny?
Well, Greg, like a lot of problems, it's not one thing in particular. You know, there's an amalgamation of different things, and use that word unsettled. People do feel unsettled. You know, I mean, like I would love to avoid the potential banana skin and the hot potato that is immigration, but that's a factor as well. And a lot of what's going on in immigration is perception.
I've purposely tried to bring it in so it's not a banana skin for you, if you know what I'm saying. Because if that's what people are saying, if that's what people are saying, then that's what people are feeling, right? So, say for instance, that's what people feel. So there's a couple of things we need to address it, right? So is it about more policing to make people feel secure? Is it about better integration so different communities understand themselves better? Is it ensuring that one particular area does not become predominantly of one particular culture or races? Other, because we've seen historically, we've seen how that can create disquiet and discomfort in the community. So if that is an issue, we have to talk about it. It's not a banana skin. If that is part of it, then what can we do to resolve it? Because we are all going to seemingly have to live in the same space.
We use the word integration, Greg, and that for me that's the most important part of my immigration policy. You know, we have to integrate. We will have racism if that doesn't happen. I have a friend, Noel Leslie, who runs a chess club in town, and half the people in that chess club are Irish, half are from other countries, and they get on like house and fair. We must move towards integration. You know, there is an area in town down behind where the old Garda barracks was, down behind where the Metropolitan was, that's now at this stage is basically just one community of people. And, you know, this potential ghettoisation, it can't be good. I mean, immigration per se is not a bad thing at all, but I mean, it's the way the government are handled. We heard about the Balakadreen thing, etc., and some of that perception, some of it's real. You know, we need to have a better policy on this, and governmentally it's not been handled well. I mean, we all know that people are becoming rich out of the policies, etc. Personally, I don't think it's right that people come into the country, give money and say, look, there's money, do nothing for 2-3 years. It can't be helping their mental health. It can't be helping their sense of self-worth. It does not serve the immigrant neither, and it doesn't serve us.
Right, so if I'm in Letterkenny and I want to vote for you, right? So what am I voting for? Because, obviously you're not extreme in your views. You're talking about integration. You see, it seems that you're talking about people that come into Ireland being able to work and integrate and contribute to society, unless I've picked you up wrong. Really, the thrust of what you're saying is that we need to make sure policy promotes understanding and inclusion, and that there's more Gardaí to make people feel more secure. Now, if I've misrepresented you in any of that, Jerry, let me know. But that seems to be what you're asking the people of Letterkenny to vote for you for.
Well,
on this topic, on this particular topic.
On this topic, yes, of other topics, obviously, of course. But I mean, I think, like some would say, I would love to chase the bridge up in Letterkenny. I'd love to do what I can. That is what I can do. I can certainly try. If there's areas to exploit, if I get elected, I'll look there. Defective block is a massive part of my policy, of course. It's everyone's. It can't not be in Donegal. But I mean, the rest of my policy really concern national, like policing, like affordable housing, like infrastructure in general. Greg, these things are not national policies. These things are all local. We cannot fix policing in Donegal, anywhere in the country, if we don't fix it nationally. We can't fix the affordable housing problem and our young moving to Australia because they can't afford houses in Donegal if we don't fix it nationally. The policies have to be there in Dublin. So these policies are all local policies. That's what you're voting for.
Is, Jerry, in terms of people joining, I think actually, sorry, I'll come back to that. If either of my children said to me, I want to join the Guards, the reason I would discourage them is because of the flack they might get from the public. Do you know what I mean? Yes. And I don't see anything out there about that. I think it's a very, very tough job. I think they're seen as they are the whipping boys of government policy or what have you, boys and girls, but you know what I mean by that. It's not about where they could live necessarily. It's not about how much money they get. For some reason, and I think it goes back to maybe the role they had through COVID, it's not a job I'd like to see my children do, not least because the Guards, it seems like they've very little protection and it's not a safe job either. I think that's really the challenge in recruitment in An Garda Síochána.
It is. Like I said before, Greg, it's never just one thing. There's not one thing wrong. When you look at a problem to solve, there's 4 or 5 facets. And you said exactly the right thing in the sense that, like, I believe in my social media. You look at those riots that were in Dublin, but was it 8-9 months ago now? You see these things on social media. You won't see where the guard's been spat at. You won't see where the guard's been hit. You won't see where the guard's been intimidated. You won't see where the young fellow went on the bus and told the bus driver, what country are you from? Go back to your own country. This bus driver's working, paying taxes. You don't see that. What you see on social media is where a guard brings a baton down on some guy's shoulder. That's what you see on social media. You don't see the preamble. It's very uneven. On social media, Greg, look, maybe I'm a bit of a troglodyte. I would go back to the past any day. I think social media is damaging us to a massive degree. The messages are all wrong. So Gardaí have that to get round too. But I think we have to try and move towards, highlighting that fact that Guards. I've actually some people tell me in some of the comments, on my videos, my TikTok videos, that Gardaí are terrorists. That's how extreme people feel.
Yeah, I wonder how you'll get on, Jerry, because you're quite moderate, and it'll be interesting to see if it resonates with the voting public. Yeah,
I think we have to deal at the moment with the laws we've got. We are obliged to take 30,000 people into the country at the moment due to their politicians voted that in a number of months ago. And immigration per se is not a bad thing if it's handled properly. But I think in the meantime, that should also be our limit. And we should work with what we've got in the country, work very hard to integrate the people we've got here. And, I said earlier that immigration is a hot potato. And the sense it is for me because, there's people out there who think more extremely than I do. And they won't vote for me probably, Greg. And I have to come out and say what I think. I can't just sort of gloss over and say, I think this, I think that. They're not going to go to doorsteps and tell a different truth. You've got to come out and say exactly what you think. And that's my stance on it.
All right, okay. Well, listen, thanks for joining us. We'll chat again, of course, over the next 3 weeks. Jerry McKeever, independent candidate in the 2024 general election, which takes place on November the 29th, which is not far away. Just 3 weeks by the time the Dáil is dissolved tomorrow.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Lifford Christmas Layaway Club, now open with lots of Christmas gift ideas in store, like Hollywood mirrors, dressing tables, beanbags and much more. Need a new mattress? Visit our sleep centre on the first floor with quality beds and mattresses at discount prices, in stock and ready for immediate collection or delivery. Open Monday to Saturday 9am till 5:30pm with hot lunches served daily in our coffee shop. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Lifford.
From family road trips to weekend getaways, start your adventures with a new Ford in 2025. The Ford 251 sales event runs from the 1st to the 16th of November. We have incredible savings across our range, with up to €4,000 off the new Kuga plug-in hybrid, plus more savings on the new Puma and the new all-electric Explorer. Ford Options PCP customers also have 0 reasons to miss this event. Discover all our 251 offers at Ford.ie. T's and C's apply. Offer ends November 16th.
Discover Centra's Simple Savers, your go-to for great everyday value. Like McVitie's Victoria Biscuit Selection 550 gram, only €4. Pepsi and 7-Up 2 litre, $1.50 each plus deposit. And selected Last Miraz Data Wine, only €8. Enjoy easy, simple prices weekly on your favourite products. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Tiles, bathware and wood flooring. The best quality and value in the Northwest. Fully stocked and ready to go. Fitters and delivery available. 10% off for Mica affected customers. Don't forget to ask about our 5-day bathroom fit out. Call Milford Tiles on 083 091 0707.
Join Highland Radios around the Northwest this Thursday from the Ebrington Hotel, Derry, for the Northwest Future of Energy Conference and Exhibition. Discover sustainable energy through innovation, through keynote speeches, panel discussions and exhibitor displays. Highlights include insights from industry leaders on energy innovation and net zero strategies. This Thursday at the Ebrington Hotel in Derry for the Northwest Future of Energy Conference and Exhibition.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find the perfect present for everyone on your list this festive season. Discover the joy of gifting and make Christmas magical with McElhenney's Ballybuffet. Visit us in-store or online at mcelhenneys.com.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. I was due to speak to Councillor Martin McDermott. We're just right up against 11. Martin, can you hold till just after 11?
Yeah.
Good man. Thank you very much indeed. It's a very important issue, and even if I started now, then there'd be a 4 or 5 minute gap in between our conversation. So we'll get back to Martin McDermott because we're going to be talking about a development in the defective concrete block scheme, which was announced by government. Some of your comments. Greg, the Gardaí in Letterkenny are too busy catching boys drunk in a public place. Same boys all the time. Cops know them all, and boys landing in here for the weekend from cities in Northern Ireland and causing trouble going home, and Gardaí don't even chase them. They go for the low-hanging fruit, the local drunks and troublemakers, who in fairness are usually harmless, and they let boys come in here from NI at the weekends and cause trouble, and they can't be bothered to drag them back in over the border. That is the problem. Public order offences are easy work for them. In fairness, there was a situation maybe somewhat similar to that allegedly in Donegal Town, and it is being pursued through the courts, but that's your view and I respect it. Greg, it's Irish teenage lads that are making the streets feel unsafe. This uptick has been happening for years as each generation seems to be acting worse than the last. Questions to be made. How many asylum seekers, migrants and people from Ukraine in Letterkenny? This is not being asked or answered. That's why I'm trying to be very careful with the language here, because if you look at the representation in courts and the demographics of those in courts, it is predominantly Irish people in courts for public order offences and what have you. But if there is a perception there, and if it's not reality or somewhere in between, one has to address that as well. Greg and Highland leaning so far left, they're almost out of sight. Okay, don't know what that means really. If that means speaking to a general election candidate and talking about their mandate, and not their mandate, but their platform, what they're standing on, if that is left-leaning, I'd call it balanced. Now, I'm not sure if those views were left or right, because I really don't subscribe to that kind of stuff. But are you saying I shouldn't be able to speak to people who are standing for election and have certain views? Is that what you'd prefer? Doesn't sound like democracy or an open media to me. Greg, regarding your opinion and it not being safe joining the Garda profession, that's why they're trained to combat crime in every country. Give them a good salary. Yeah, indeed. I can only speak honestly as an individual. Hi, Greg. Jerry's a man of honesty and decency, and I wish him the best in the election. He has a book published on Amazon called Benocracy, and his ideas have so much common sense and brilliant ideas, but I fear the way the world is now, people prefer controversy over good, honest living. Are people saying the streets are unsafe because there are lots of different nationalities about nowadays? One can't go by speculation. This is exactly the reason why I'm trying to have the conversation out in public. Is that why people feel unsafe, or why is it? Because all of it can be looked at and addressed, and probably should be. Right, let's take a break, then the news, and then Martin McDermott will rejoin us to talk about those developments on the DCB scheme.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
For all you hard workers and multitaskers, those who come to work with big ambitions and bigger ideas, and all you legends of the trade, however you get the job done, there's a Volkswagen commercial vehicle for your business. Choose the new Transporter, Caddy Cargo, Crafter, Amarok, or the all-electric ID Buzz Cargo. Enjoy HB finance from 0% or purchase contributions of up to €2,000. Find the Volkswagen in you with the 251 range.
Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Visit Connolly's Volkswagen Letterkenny. Order now at connellys.ie.
Do you need help to make a healthcare complaint? Breathe easy. You're not alone. Established 5 years ago, the Patient Advocacy Service is a free, independent and confidential service that can support you to make a complaint to a public acute hospital or a nursing home in Ireland. We also offer support in the aftermath of a patient safety incident and work within the framework of the Patient Safety Act 2023. Call us on 0818 293 003 or visit patientadvocacyservice.ie.
Here in Ireland, we're doing well when it comes to our recycling and food waste bins. However, some paper, plastics and food are still ending up in our general waste bins. It can happen. So take a minute before you bin it and go to mywaste.ie for help and suggestions on how to make segregating your waste that bit easier. That's mywaste.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
If you have a job to do over the weekend, Watson Hire have a brilliant weekend hire deal available. Get any item on Friday, keep it until Monday, and only pay for 1 day's hire. That's 3 days hire on any equipment or machinery for the price of one, making it even easier to get the job sorted. To book, call Watson Hire at Lisnen and Letterkenny on 9167777.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Yes, indeed it is, and it is 11 o'clock. Time for a news update, and we welcome back into studio Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Concerns have been raised in relation to the lack of consultation with the community of Milford, as it's been confirmed that the Mulroy Woods Hotel is to become a direct provision centre. There have been refugees in the hotel since 2022, with the hotel initially used predominantly for Ukrainians. Councillor Declan Meehan says a contract change in May is what brought a new focus on the situation. The government has been urged to intervene in Transport Infrastructure Ireland's ongoing refusal to allow house buildings and other development along the N56. In what was the last topical issue to be raised before the Dáil dissolves, Deputy Pearse Doherty urged Junior Minister to raise the issue. He told the Minister Donegal County Council has made constructive proposals, but TII still refuses to engage. It's National Slow Down Day, and already Gardaí across the country have been making significant speed detections. One of the biggest was a motorist found to be doing 113 km per hour in an 80 km zone on the R245 in Cashel Shanahan between Letterkenny and Ramelton. Gardaí and road safety chiefs are asking motorists to slow down this morning. Owners of houses affected by defective concrete who've had their remediation options downgraded will have the chance for a full technical review once the IS 465 review is fully complete. Following a protest in the capital yesterday, the Department of Housing says the changes are being made on foot of preliminary results from scientific research into damaged dwellings in Donegal. This shows pyrite to be the primary reason for crumbling blocks caused by internal sulphate attack. As it stands, there's still no date in sight for the amendment by the standard of the National Standards Authority yet. And finally, Donegal is to be allocated a further €260,000 under the Department of Rural and Community Development Local Enhancement Programme 2025. This will place a particular focus on small capital works and improvements and the purchase for the equipment for community use. The funding may be used to improve access for persons with a disability, enhance community participation for disadvantaged and marginalised groups, and improve energy efficiency for community facilities to reduce ongoing costs. It brings the total allocation in Donegal to over €303,000. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. We'll be back again at 12 noon.
Thanks so much, Donna Marie.
The Black Friday buzz is on. Hoping to pick up a new TV, laptop, or some nice jewellery for a steal? All things burglars would love to get their hands on too. Make sure to protect your home and everything in it with a phone watch alarm. We respond within 15 seconds, calling the homeowners, neighbours, and then the guards. Get the alarm burglars fear for just €29 this whole Black Friday month. Don't be alarmed. Be phone watched. Offer ends November 30th. Monitoring fees and terms apply. See phonewatch.ie.
Welcome back to the last hour of the show at 12 o'clock. The latest listenership figures are released for radio stations across the country, independently collated. It's embargoed to 12, so I can't talk about them. But if I were to talk about them, but I can't, it probably would be to say thanks for your continued support and welcome to new listeners, if the figures in fact reflect that. I haven't seen them, but I kind of did. But anyway, we might talk about that a little bit tomorrow, but it's good to know you're out there and good to know you're listening in greater numbers all the time, which is great in this day and age, you know, because there's so much competition out there between different radio stations and podcasts and online offerings and all that kind of stuff. So it's really encouraging that more people are potentially, we'll see what the figures say, more people are potentially listening this year than they did last in really quite big numbers, which is potentially great. The Michael Murphy news is the best lift we've had ever. Bring on the season. The lift the county needs. It's fabulous news, says the listener. Indeed, it does feel good. Another caller says, I think it's brilliant that Michael Murphy is back. He'll be a mighty asset, especially with the three in the box up front. I think he'll also be a great role model for the younger players onwards and upwards. I'm delighted to hear that Michael Murphy's coming back to the Donegal team, says another one of our listeners. A great leader, a great player, a big help to Jim and all of the lads. Another caller says, if I have a house fire, I have to pay for the fire brigade, or my home insurance takes up the tab. Likewise, people who climb mountains should be responsible for the cost of any rescue. A house fire is accidental. Climbing a mountain is not. Helicopter crews should not be standing by to pick up someone from a mountain who wasn't competent for the task. Mountain rescue team should also be compensated for their invaluable work. I agree with the last bit. I mean, if you have a house fire, maybe you lit a fire in the front room, and it was never your intention for the house to go on fire. If you climb a mountain, maybe it's not your intention that your foot might get caught in a rock and you could fall over. So, you know, there's an argument to be made either way. We need to be able to enjoy our lives and our landscape and the great outdoors, don't we? And it's great to have the facilities there to avail of them. But I take your point. Hi, Greg. Could you ask your listeners, do they know anywhere that takes old duvets or where I can dispose of them, please? I don't think the yokes at the recycling centres, I don't think they take duvets. Maybe the reviews, but what can someone do with their duvets? That is the question. I was driving in Letterkenny yesterday on the dual carriageway. A lorry in front was travelling at about 50 miles per hour. I passed out this lorry, and just after I passed, he accelerated and passed me out again. It's childish behaviour like this that causes accidents. I've seen that before. You do see that, how it happens. Right, let me see. Listening to the Fianna Fáil TD minister on your show, that was yesterday, talks a good game, but how many drivers are involved in road traffic incidents while still disqualified? Other drivers on non-Irish licence. Does the time fine fit the crime? It's not an easy fix, but revenue capture, in my opinion, is taken more seriously by them. There are stats as it relates to those most likely to be involved in collisions. I don't have them to hand, but I have seen them. Let me see. Over to these comments here now. I live 8 kilometres from that area and I struggle to get my kids into secondary school there. This must be Milford. As an Irish citizen, will my children be pushed further down the queue to accommodate other citizens now? Asks a listener. Again, that's someone's genuine concern that should be addressed. That's how you do it. You talk to people who've got concerns. The difference between Ukrainian refugees and I-Pass applicants is that Ukrainians come from a civilised Christian country with similar traditions and cultures to ourselves. They also need a passport or electronic passport to enter the country. The majority were women and children fleeing war. The government is now encouraging Ukrainians to leave Ireland to make room for I-Pass applicants. Terrible times ahead. There's a few bits in that. I mean, firstly, all I-Pass applicants, you need to educate ourselves as to what their cultural background is. Many of them are Christians, by the way. But anyway, that's your view. And they put in brackets, I can't see this being read out. I don't know, people haven't learned listening to the show yet. Councillor Martin McDermott, really appreciate your patience. I know your time is precious, like everybody's time, but I didn't want to rush this, but I won't keep you too long either. So, good morning to you. And what is this announcement from the department as it relates to the DCB scheme? This is following preliminary research findings, which we've been talking an awful lot about over the last good while, Martin.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. I think it's an important announcement, first of all, for homeowners, because it now allows homeowners that have got a remedial option other than an option one.
And option one's full demolition.
Yes, option one's full demolition. So anyone that's got an option other than option one now have the availability to send that application back to the housing agency. And the housing agency will do a full review of their application, just to be sure that they have the right remedial option. Because, particularly over the past couple of years, people have got options, even options through the local authority going back before the new enhanced scheme came in 2023, that have options of remediations that over the last couple of years, their house would have deteriorated. They would have found more cracks within the house or outside the house. And as the scheme stood at the minute, they would have to come out of the scheme and reapply as a new applicant, go through the process again to be able to get that reviewed. This now opens the door for applicants that they don't have to do that. They can just send their application in along with whatever evidence they have to the housing agency. A
lot of people were given option one, and then that was downgraded to options 2 to 5 by the housing agency, if I understand correctly. Yeah. Now they're being told that they can go back to that agency again and appeal that. What might change?
Yeah, well, I think what will change, Greg, is that the evidence now that's coming forward, and you would have had Professor Dunlop and Anders Lehman and different people on your programme. The National Standards Authority are doing a review, as we know, of IS 465. So hopefully within the next number of months, that review will be done. That will allow these families that have got downgrades to go back to the housing agency. And, I think people should maybe not just jump here today and send their applications back. And I think it would be advisable to wait to the IS 465 is reviewed and that review is out there to send it back in, because there's quite a large probability at the minute that that will change significantly according to the research and the evidence that's been, I suppose, here now for the last number of years. But
so they've seen enough. They've seen enough then to determine that IS 465. Then there's more to it than that. Yes. But why go a little bit at this point, if you know what I mean, until such time as the science is fully understood? Because still, if you're on 2 to 5 and you appeal and you're given full demolition, it may still not include rising walls, foundations, for an example.
Yeah,
so
it might not. Yeah. It might not until IS 465 is up.
Or it may not even after that. But do you know what I mean? It's still not known.
Right.
Yeah,
that's correct. But there are quite a number of applicants at the minute that have been given remediation options that just don't stack up. When the department was up, we met the department, and I think I was on your show talking to you before we met the department. And when the department came up, this was one of the main things that we discussed with them. That was on the Thursday. On the Friday, I took them out to a number of houses to show them, firsthand the issues that we have, and I took them to a house that clearly, when they got there and looked at what I was trying to explain to them, they got that this is not working, this is not right, because houses would be given an option 3, for instance, which is demolition of inside and outside walls to dam course level, which was leaving in the rising walls between foundation and dam course. That house blocks was built with the same supplier that the rising walls was built with, and it made absolutely no sense to give someone €388,000.
I've seen people. I've spoken to people that have landed on the site, and the builder is starting to put blocks on rising walls that are crumbling. I know that has actually happened as a fact. Yeah. One thing I can't understand, sorry, and I'm ignorant on some of this. It's hard to keep your head around it, right? If the state, this is billions of euro we're talking about here potentially, but if the government has seen enough in the evidence to suggest that IS 465, there's more to this problem than that covers, and they say to people, if you've given option 2 to 5, reapply because we've learned a little bit more here, and we may actually now offer you full demolition. Why would they encourage people to continue with 2 to 5 if they wanted to, because it wouldn't be science-based, and still offer a 40-year government guarantee to people going ahead with 2 to 5, even though they're flying a flag suggesting that the science is going to suggest full demolition in all cases? I can't get my head around that. Can you?
Well, I suppose the problem maybe, Greg, with that is that if that was to change, the full legislation of the scheme would have to change. Okay. And I don't think that can happen right away. If that was a decision that was made by the department or by the minister, that would have to be a legislative change. That would have to go through the Houses of Oireachtas, and as you know, that's going to be a bit of a problem for the next wee while. So I think that's the reason that option. And there are people out there that maybe want to go ahead with the remediation option, and that's fine. For people that want to do that as well. So I don't think that could happen just that quick. So I think that's probably the reason.
What about someone who are up to the square on option 2 or 5 and are now saying, "Hold on, a second. I only continued on here because this was the show in town, and I need to get into a house." The boat sailed for them to get a review, I presume.
Oh, look, if someone is up to the square with a remediation option, and they at any point during that remediation option find something that determines that the house is deteriorated more than what it is when that remediation option was dealt with by their engineer or by the housing agency, they can absolutely come back into the housing agency with proof that there is further deterioration in that house, and the housing agency will review that.
Now, this is a development. There was a commitment that the science would be followed. Some would see this as a following through of that commitment, right? But, and I'll go back to one of the earliest remarks that you made. If it were I, and I wonder if you were the same, I would hold out if I can to find out what the situation is after the full review of IS 465. This is an advance, right? But I still would want to know what the story is with rising walls and with foundations before I committed to this being my forever home going forward. What about you?
Yeah, but again,
it's up
Greg,
to the people. It's up to the public, of course.
It's up to everyone individually, but there are people there that have certain circumstances at the minute that will absolutely change their remediation option.
Yeah,
and they have found themselves in a no man's land position. And it really opens the door for those people to go back in now. And those applications will, in my opinion, be determined very, very quickly, because the evidence is there that there is further deterioration and that they have problems. So those people will be able to get moving right away now and get their application reviewed by the housing agency.
Yeah. In relation to the cohort of people out there that have results now or findings of their house that there is a level of mica within them, but it is not going to lead necessarily to a deterioration of their property. Is there any moves on to clarify that so as that we can... I'm not sure how much it might be affecting the housing market or whether the situation might be, but there are people with a finding of mica, and now new evidence is suggesting that it's not really going to potentially damage the building. How big a problem is that, and what can we or should we be doing about that?
It's a big problem where it comes to people that sell in their homes in particular. People that have, there needs to be guidance, Greg. We're in a position here in the county where, every home has nearly been determined as being a defective home, even though some homes...
That's the default position, yeah.
It's the default position. And, some homes have very minimal amounts of deleterious materials within their blocks. They have quite extensive and high compressive strength tests within their blocks. But that doubt is there. And, there's people, families that have homes for sale that maybe want to relocate because of they got a job in Dublin or they got a job down the country or for different reasons. And they're finding themselves in that pocket now where, it doesn't matter what the house is or what the compressive strength is or what the report is. Once the word defective deleterious materials is mentioned, it puts that house in a position where everybody saying, don't touch that house.
Yeah, why risk it? Yeah, why would you borrow 350 grand?
There needs to be clear guidelines.
Yeah, exactly.
There needs to be clear determinations on what the amount of let it be pyrite, let it be mica, let it be whatever the deleterious materials are, that there's specific amounts in them, that if it's over that amount, that it's a problem, and if it's under that amount, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And that needs to be clear when the new review is done,
I
so that
think
it
so,
opens
yeah.
the door for people that are trying to sell houses as well.
And it will also apply to repaired houses.
When you're not.
But if I repaired my house, option 2 to 5, and I got the 40-year state guarantee, and I sell it to you, does that guarantee pass to you?
Yes.
All right. Okay. It stays with the property. All right.
Stays with the property.
We'll watch on with we'll watch on with interest. It is a development. It's to let people take note of it. It may suit some people. Others might be pursuing with the we'll wait and sit it out to see what happens maybe next year. But it's good to get the info out there. Thanks for helping us, Martin.
Thank you.
All right then.
Thank
That's
you.
Councillor Martin McDermott there. Back with more shortly.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Hi, I'm thinking of getting another tattoo to go with my raging dragon one.
Sure. What are you looking for?
Well, maybe something like a...
Bunnies! He wants a row of bunny rabbits with twitchy noses.
Your vote is your voice, so don't let others decide for you.
All holding giant flowers.
Who's that?
Ella. She works in the bank next door.
Make sure you're registered to vote. Go to checktheregister.ie and be a voter, so that it's your voice that's heard. From Comisiún Tábhachtán, Ireland's Independent Electoral Commission.
Too cute. And like Sarah on it.
Cute? I'm a martial arts champion. And my boyfriend's name is Jack.
Don't miss the Peugeot 251 sales event from November 2nd to 10th with stylish new Peugeots to suit everyone. Put a deposit on a 251 Peugeot today and get a €500 Dunnes Stores gift card, a free 3-year service plan and free road tax for a year.
Your local Peugeot dealer is McGinley Motors, Pierce Road, Letterkenny, where the 251 sales event is now on.
Terms and conditions apply. Offer valid until 10th of November. For full terms and conditions, see Peugeot.ie.
Go full Lidl with our roast and toast pairings on Lidl Plus. Serve up our Board B approved smoked ham fillet, 20% off now $5.59. And cheers all round for flavourful Spanish rioja, 21% off now $10.99. Scan your Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today. Get the facts, be drinkaware, visit drinkaware.ie.
Plan the perfect weekend escape from Donegal to Glasgow with Loganair. Enjoy convenient flights every Friday and Sunday with a complimentary 15 kg check-in bag. Experience hassle-free travel and book your getaway now at loganair.co.uk.
Looking for the best rates on foreign currency? Visit Bureau Express on Lifford Road, Strabane. We offer special rates for commercial customers competitive with banks on currencies like euro and sterling and dollars. With 60 currencies and free parking, we're your one-stop shop. Call 028 7188 2081. We're the last turn-off before the Asda roundabout. Bureau Express, Strabane.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
21 minutes past 11. It's good morning now to Pat O'Toole, political correspondent with the Irish Farmers Journal. Pat, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Right, the front page splash on the Farmers Journal today, quite favourable for at least two of the government parties, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. They still are commanding a lot of love from the farming community.
Yeah, if there were an election in the morning, and now we know there will be an election campaign in the morning and an election on the 29th of November, what would the preferred party be? So both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are up on our survey. So we do a survey of over 1,000 farmers twice a year. And both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are up on the May survey, which is just in advance of the European and local elections. Fine Gael are up 3% to 37. Fianna Fáil are up 3% to 23. So a combined 60% for the two major coalition partners.
But not such great news for Sinn Féin. I'm not sure if the survey shows this, but their support amongst the farming community that you poll, incredibly low. Is that because farmers don't like their policies? Is it a bit of the devil you know? And I don't mean that calling the parties that are currently in government the devil, don't get me wrong. Or is it that they don't like the Sinn Féin policy or don't know it?
Really good question. Don't like it or don't know it. Martin Kenny is back in as the Ag spokesperson since the summer, and I had to sit down with him recently, and he agreed that Sinn Féin have work to do in getting their message across to farmers. They believe that they have a package that will appeal to farmers. But Sinn Féin have historically polled low in our surveys. But there was a worrying drop in Sinn Féin's performance in our most recent survey in May. They had gone down from 13 to 6%. And I pointed out at the time that Sinn Féin typically poll nationally about twice as the vote that farmers are giving them. So as a demographic, farmers seem to be less positively disposed to Sinn Féin than the general public. But that held true in the local and European elections. Sinn Féin got 12%, exactly twice the 6% that they polled with us. So the fact that they're down again in this poll to 4% will be a worry for Martin Kenny and Mary Lou MacDonald. And I think that we're going to see a very vigorous election campaign. Obviously, Sinn Féin did very well in the last campaign during the three and a half weeks of the campaign itself. Sinn Féin rose consistently in the polls and ended up being the largest first preference level of support in the 2020 election on just under 25%. So, but what is really interesting is the third force, I suppose, is Independent Ireland, the party founded a year ago by Michael Collins and Richard O'Donoghue, and augmented significantly by Michael Fitzmaurice joining them early this year. They're on 10%, and then the remaining independents, people like Thomas Pringle in Donegal, to the Healy Rays, Matty McGrath, Carol Nolan, Verona Murphy, they're on 20%. And farmers have said that their preferred coalition government would be Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, but the second most popular coalition will be Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Independents. Mm-hmm. Interestingly, 7% of farmers said that they would support Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens, the outgoing government.
7. Okay, well, I think people can extrapolate from that the popularity of the Greens amongst the farming community. It's possible Minister John McConnell is facing into his last 3 weeks as the Agriculture Minister. You ask farmers specifically about him. What are the findings there?
So we do this every time, and the findings are consistent in that farmers are hard taskmasters, and they I suppose it breaks a third generally. And depending on, it's quite a bellwether of farmers' attitudes to life and how they feel about farming, whether the minister goes up or down. But it usually breaks roughly a third indifferent, a third look on them poor, or a bit more than a third, and a third or a bit less look on them as performing well. So that's where we are this time. 27% say good or very good. Most of those are in the good category, only 3% very good. 42% are saying poor or very poor, and about 31% indifferent. And he's polling lowest among dairy farmers and tillage farmers. Now, I think the dairy farmers is very much linked to the issues around the derogation and the curbs that are there on output and the stocking numbers for dairy farmers, which is something which is coming from Brussels. It's not even agriculture, it's environment, which is the competent Commissioner Sinkevicius, who was the Environment Commissioner, was the person who was responsible for that particular issue. But of course, farmers look on the minister as their representative in Brussels and hold him accountable for everything. Charlie McConalogue has a low rating among dairy farmers, and then tillage farmers. There was the whole controversy around the strong cooperation measure in the summer, but tillage farming is on the floor. It's had a very difficult 2 years. Bad springs, tough harvests, moderate crops, falling prices, very high input costs. And again, there's two ways of looking at this. Are tillage farmers saying that they're not impressed with the minister, but they're just not impressed with life? And what we found over 10 years of this is that there are shifts in the approval. We've had Simon Coveney and Michael Creed and now Charlie McConalogue. We had the two short-lived Fianna Fáil ministers in between, Dara Calleary and Barry Cowan. But what we find is that the approval ratings move within fairly narrow parameters up and down, and Charlie McConalogue has been reasonably consistent. What is interesting is that he has done a couple of rounds of meetings as minister. Like his tenure has seen some very big ticket issues. We visited every single county in Ireland for public meetings at the time of the CAP reform, and there was some very robust exchanges. But I do think there was a respect for the level of engagement that he was willing to commit to, and the fact that he was willing to meet farmers face to face.
58% indifferent or positive is it's not terrible, is it?
Exactly. Well, this is the thing, because I mean, indifferent is a funny word. Interestingly, we asked for government approval, and it was slightly higher, but we used the word fair rather than indifferent. And I think, indifferent means that neither good nor bad. So I think that if you were to ask farmers, what do you think of Charlie McConalogue, and what do you think of the Minister for Agriculture, it's quite interesting that they have. It's the ministry and the department that raises the hackles of farmers. I think he's a very personable man, as you know, and I think farmers have personal regard for him. But there is daily interface. It's almost like Rate My Teacher, because farmers have daily interface with the Department of Agriculture. They have constant homework to do. The amount of verification work that farmers have to do and paperwork that farmers have to do to comply with all the various schemes and requirements of food production, which are necessary.
Farmers understand the game. They understand what we are in control of, what we're not in control of. And I think really, a strong voice that is at least seen to be standing up to Europe. And I'm not saying whether Charlie McConalogue is or not, that would go a long way, I think, in winning over the indifference, because they know the story, right? They know where the rules are made, but they also know that if you go over to Europe and stare someone in the eye and make that argument, even if you come back having failed, that would mean a lot.
Well, you're into interesting territory here now, because we're launching into this general election campaign in the wake of the US general election. And I think that there's going to be a mood of unease among farmers about, farmers have signed up in general to the climate action plan and the and the requirements there, to the water quality issues and the derogation and the changes that are being made there, and the constraints that's imposing on farmers on a day-to-day basis. You've got calendar farming, you've got all the rules and regulation, eye in the sky, satellites, endless inspections. But Donald Trump, when he became president in 2016, immediately pulled the US out of the Paris Agreement on climate change, leaving Europe almost standing alone. He's likely to do that again. And that's going to cause issues all over Europe. We saw the protests earlier this year with European farmers. And whatever about being asked to do it as part of a global effort, being asked to do it as part of a regional effort, when the American government is facing in the opposite direction, and the Chinese and the Russians as well are, not carrying their weight in relation to climate change, are farmers willing to be best in class and willing to? That's going to be, I think that's going to be the dominant theme of this upcoming election. So, I think that, and again on trade, Donald Trump has made it very clear he intends to impose tariffs. China are his target, but global trade wars are really bad for farmers' business. They're bad for all business, but they're very bad for farmers' business. And I think farmers are going to be nervous about that and looking for reinsurance to Europe. There was a Mercosur protest at the Dail over a potential trade agreement which would see German cars going to South America in exchange for Brazilian beef. That's kind of the way the Mercosur deal is being portrayed. Farmers will be worried that if a trade war occurs, that food will be in the front line. And the Chinese have frequently targeted food. When the EU proposed to put fairly significant tariffs on Chinese electric cars, the Chinese immediately responded by imposing tariffs on dairy products. So it's
big markets.
Farmers feel quite vulnerable at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Pat, listen, thanks so much for the insight. Really interesting information, and actually setting the scene also too for the next 3 weeks. Really appreciate your time, Pat. Keep up the great work at the Farmers Journal. Take care.
Anytime. Take care.
Right, bye-bye. Slán. Pat O'Toole, political correspondent with the Irish Farmers Journal.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Looking for your number one stop shop that's got it all? Then make John McNulty's convenience store and top oil service station in Stranraer, Donegal your number one destination. Whether you're topping up on petrol or diesel, stocking up on solid fuel, or grabbing a delicious bite from their hot deli, John McNulty's has everything you need. Convenience, quality and service, all in one place. Because at John McNulty's, they put you first. Visit John McNulty's today, your number one choice.
The Hyundai 251 Big Offers event is here, November 7th, 8th and 9th, with a late night opening Thursday and Friday. Choose between low finance offers across the entire 251 range, including the all-new Santa Fe, or avail of a €500 voucher of your choice. Terms and conditions apply. The Hyundai 251 Big Offers event.
On now at Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny.
Every visit to the Virgin Media Playhouse brings amazing offers. Like 500 meg superfast reliable broadband for just €35 a month for 12 months, with no activation fee. And that's just for starters. Discover more at virginmedia.ie and switch today. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 12-month contract. 500 meg broadband. €70 thereafter.
New this week at Home Store and More. All Christmas tree lights are half price. That's right, half price. Save €30 on 1,000 LED cluster lights, or save an amazing €50 on 2,000 LED cluster lights. Let our half-price Christmas tree lights add a Christmas twinkle to your home. But better hurry, because when all our half-price Christmas tree lights are gone, they're gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
OMG, girl, you look unreal. Where's your dress from?
Oh, thank you. I actually borrowed it from my friends.
Stop. I love sharing clothes.
We swap all the time. No need to buy new.
Exactly. You look amazing.
Oh, thanks a mil. Enjoy your night.
You too.
Buy less, rewear, share, because that's what's trending right now. Find out more about circular fashion at reversethetrend.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Niall's with me now. Niall, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Right. Obviously, there's a lot of media coverage today of what I honestly thought was old news, but anyway, here we are. And that is that Milford is now accommodating international protection applicants. What's your take on this as a local?
As far as I can remember, back in 2022, the Ukrainian refugees were IPAS refugees, and they were housed here in Milford since then. And they've obviously been moved out into places within the community. So now more and more other refugees are coming in from other war-torn countries. And I don't see that as a problem at all. And there are actually fewer refugees here now than there were in 2022.
Are you getting a sense that that's the general view of the population, Niall, or are some people concerned that the demographic of the refugees is changing?
I think there is a problem with regard to race here by amongst a few people, and those people are stirring things up now because there's an election coming. That's my honest opinion on that. And they're trying to motivate and cause trouble now for the refugees that are here.
You worked with the Ukrainian refugees when they were the predominant residents
Yeah, I taught English as a volunteer to them when they were here initially, and I didn't continue with it because of health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But they were very nice people, and the people that are here at the moment, I've met some of them. Very, very nice people. You couldn't ask for nicer people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to avoid it being politicised. That's why I'm so keen to speak to people from Milford. You're one voice. There are many others out there as well. I think it's important that everyone sort of takes a breath in talking about this, I think.
Yeah, well, I worked abroad for many years and appreciated the people that I worked with in other countries. And I was treated very well, even in countries in Africa. And therefore, I feel that, we owe them something as well, because most of the problems they have are actually caused by people in the West and politicians in the West.
But also, Niall, we do have to recognise people's concerns. And I think, maybe people might try and politicise this over race, but I think people's concerns are not based necessarily on race. They're based on safety, i.e. maybe access to the hotel and facilities, spaces in schools, the provision of bus services when other families are struggling to get their children to school, the ability to get an appointment in the local doctors. Those are the type of things that the government still, some would argue, is not really addressing genuine non-racial based concerns.
Yeah, but I would agree with that. I would agree with the likes of Declan Meehan and Liam Blaney as well, because they were both involved in trying to resolve issues around service problems for the refugees and for local people. And it's the government that's at fault here. It's not the local people here, nor the local politicians.
Do you believe this is going to be a hotbed of conversation, Niall, or do you believe now that this contract has been signed and it's been made public that it will pass over?
It's just a continuation of the other contracts. And Greg, I don't think it's going to cause any major problems here at all. The only thing I would be worried about is people from outside the community coming in and causing the problems.
No,
not people from within the community.
We'll watch on. I kind of referenced that, and that's why it's important. I'm not saying there's not concern, but I also want to know what the concern is, the level of concern. I think we've that responsibility. All right, Niall, thanks for your time. I do appreciate it. That's Niall there. Keep your calls and comments coming in. Greg, when someone calls you a lefty, it just means you're not acting like a frothing at the mouth, rage-baiting conman. There is no sensible centre anymore. If you're not screaming about immigrants, eating pets or the gays, coming for the kids, then you're a communist, apparently. I don't understand some of these terminologies. All I know is that there is not one individual or one collective of individuals that kind of aligns to my points of view. I have different points of view on different things. So I don't know how. Maybe was that last interview a lefty interview? I haven't a clue. It's unfair to paint all Gardaí with the same brush. Years ago, if you had a son in the Garda, it was on honour. We've some good ones too, and they need to be acknowledged. Thank you, enjoying your show. I think you've probably... I'm sorry, I think you've picked my comments up incorrectly. I wasn't talking about the Gardaí or the quality of Gardaí. What I was saying was, I'll just recap. I think the Gardaí, being a member of the Gardaí, is a thankless job now. I think the respect for the uniform has gone to some extent. I think, and we've seen it, that assaults in Gardaí are happening all the time. They're often then put into the front line of controversial policies. I'm thinking of sort of the front line of riots and that type of stuff, and they become the target. So I wasn't painting all Gardaí with the same brush. My comments were I don't think it's a very attractive job anymore. Whether it was or not in the past, I don't know. My perception is that it was. So sorry if I didn't make myself very clear there. Why is there no... by the way, another 7 or 8 people who've been waiting hard on their driving test in Letterkenny have been told at short notice that the test isn't going ahead today. I really feel for them. Why is there no cover? People are entitled to get sick or take annual leave. I don't know the circumstances of it. They need more people working with them and supporting them. This is not in any way having a go at testers. But if someone is off sick or if someone is on annual leave or something happens, surely there should be a plan to cover it. We're waiting so long. That's 14 tests now in 2 days from people that have got them cancelled at short notice in Letterkenny. And they're hard to come by. And what that means to you, if you are going on the when might I be invited for a test and it says the second week in December, That might be updated now to say January. So it's a ripple effect. It's not just today. It's rescheduling those 14, but it also, of course, knocks everyone back potentially. As I say, this is not down to the testers. They're entitled to get sick, take annual leave. I don't know the circumstances, but why is there only 4 in the whole county? It is 4, isn't it? 3 in Letterkenny, 1 in Donegal Town, and then Buncrana is covered from those 4. However they managed to do that. 4 in all of this county in the waiting lists. People waiting months and months and months and months. The streets of Letterkenny, in this caller's opinion, are not safe. My grandmother stopped shopping down the main street since Christmas last year. 2 foreigners, as they've described, followed her either side to her car at a car park. They turned and went back up the hill when 2 delivery men got out of the lorry. It's all on camera. God bless her. Okay, that's a person's real life lived experience. I see channels on YouTube showing people filming in public, targeting sensitive areas so they get a reaction. They say they have a right to do so as it's a public area. What law are we breaking, etc.? Would these people get away with it in Spain or Italy or even England? Is that in Ireland? Because I on TikTok I did start getting... there's a massive trend in America, and it is... what is it? It's effectively to test the Constitution. So you'll get people that will go in and start filming in a post office, for an example, or it could be a library. And they want the staff to get peeved off because they challenge them that they're entitled to do so. And they film it and all this kind of stuff. Is it happening in Ireland now as well? I don't see the point of it. It's kind of dying a death in America, I think. Just before a break, to let you know what's coming up after 12, John Breslin is broadcasting live from the annual Northwest Future of Energy Conference, jointly hosted by the Londonderry Chamber of Commerce and Letterkenny Chambers. It is running in the Ebrington Hotel today, so it's going to focus on the theme of sustainable energy through innovation. John Breslin's going to be broadcasting live from that event. I am up there as well at 2 o'clock chairing a panel discussion about that stuff. So looking forward to that. But anyway, by the by, listen to John Breslin's show to get more information. 08660 25,000. Right, let's see. We are going to take a quick break and then we're going to be joined by our next guest in just 2 minutes.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Discover the ultimate escape at the Spa at Orchids, the Holyrood Hotel, Bundoran, nominated for Spa Experience of the Year 2024 by the Irish Hotel Awards. Indulge in an oriental bamboo massage, reflexology, or choose from our signature therapies, skin glowing facials and invigorating body treatments. Couples can unwind together in twin treatment rooms or share a peaceful moment in the secret garden with outdoor hot tub. The Spa at Orchids, open daily. To buy a gift voucher or reserve your appointment, visit holyroodhotel.com.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware, with stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Make it a Christmas party to remember at Dunnes Stores, with 20% off a fantastic range of wine and champagne. And mix and match 3 for 2 on over 100 party food options. Whether you want crispy tempura prawns, elf bao buns, or a selection of indulgent cheeses. Whatever you want from your Christmas shop, you'll find it in our aisles, fridges and freezers. Plus, you can save again at the till with a 10 off 50 grocery voucher. Make Christmas for everyone with Dunnes Stores. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in the next grocery shop of €50 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
That's the sound of someone sleeping soundly on a Restex mattress. Choose from the Donegal range. A Teelan, a Kinnigo, or a Mulroy mattress. It'll change the way you sleep forever. Restex beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
Are you a self-assessed income taxpayer? Use Ross to pay and file online by Thursday, November 14th. If you're not yet registered for Ross, do so today at revenue.ie. Avoid a surcharge, interest, penalties, and a possible tax audit. Don't miss the November 14th deadline. Pay and file on time.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find the perfect present for everyone on your list this festive season. Discover the joy of gifting and make Christmas magical with McElhenney's Ballybuffet. Visit us in-store or online at mcelhenneys.com.
You wouldn't even know it's weather, let alone heading towards Christmas. It's weather? November, just because of the weather. Record temperatures, 19 degrees in Donegal yesterday, and it's going to be the hottest November since records began. Mostly cloudy today, mainly dry though, just a little drizzle in places. Temperatures 13 to 16 degrees in mostly moderate, occasionally fresh southeasterly winds, strong at times in western coastal areas. Okay, now Tanya McColgan is joining us on the programme now, as is Lorraine Lynch, both of you, members of the MUF responders. Morning, Tanya.
Hi, good morning, Greg. How are you going?
I'm doing good. Good morning, Lorraine.
Good morning, Greg. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Tanya, I'll start with you if that's okay, because this is about sort of developing MUF responders. Talk to me about the process and where you're at, Tanya.
That's right, Greg. We are a branch here covering the areas between Burnfoot, Redcastle, Muff, Quigley's Point, and we've been in training for the last 6 months or so.
Fantastic.
We've been training every Wednesday night, and we have nearly 6 months behind us now, so we're moving on hopefully in January. The community first responders, there's about 16 of us, and we're hoping to sort of go live the end of January.
That's amazing. And obviously people know, but we'll just remind them. First responders, and we've seen them in other areas, doing amazing life-saving work. This is about
That's
getting
right.
first, isn't it, to a life-threatening medical emergency and giving the patient as best a chance of survival as possible before the emergency services
That's
arrive.
correct, Greg, yeah.
Yeah, so you stabilise them for potentially and provide care.
Stabilise them.
Yeah, Lorraine, in terms of equipment, though, there's a lot of stuff is required. And I think that's part of why we're chatting, isn't it? You know, because you need the right equipment to save lives.
You need the right equipment at the same, but you also need for training as well, for us to get established. So the training of all the volunteers, we need to have the dummies and the different things as well. So, but on the scene, the defibrillator is the main one, and the kit bags for all the volunteers is quite a lot. There's quite a lot involved, and you don't realise that until you're sitting on the Wednesday nights and you're like, oh my God, there's so much to be doing here. Yeah.
Have you totaled it? How much are you looking to raise to provide this equipment? And you know what? It's one of those things. Whether you're in Redcastle or whether you're in Burnfoot, you never know when one of the 16 or two of the 16 will be landing to you. We hope it never happens to us, but unfortunately, it does all of the time. So that's why it's in all of our interest to help fund this. But do we know how much needs to be raised, Lorraine?
Well, in our group, we have 16 volunteers, and the long-term plan is to have everybody kitted out with their own bag and their own defibrillator. So that if you break it down like that, the full thing roughly comes in at about 1,800 per kit bag and defibrillator. So it's a lot of money.
It is, but for what it can achieve, it's representing great value as well. Tanya, what's happening so far in terms of fundraising, or how can people support? Like I mean, there are some multi-million euro businesses in Inishowen, and one of those could get really good tax breaks and sort all this out. And I'll tell you one thing. They can come on this radio station and I'll blow smoke wherever they want for as long as they want, right? Because it would be amazing if one company could come in and sort this all out. But that being said, applications are ongoing, endeavours are ongoing, Tanya, to raise money.
Yeah. People, individuals, businesses have been amazing, so generous, and we'd like to thank them so far. Mm-hmm. We have had a few fundraisers to date, very successful, very well supported. We have another one coming up now in November, like that, and it can be, hopefully a full house and well attended. But like that, there'll be, that is on the 23rd of November.
That's
Greg,
rock and roll bingo in the Point In, is it not?
That's the rock and rave bingo.
Rock and rave,
yes.
Okay. You had me at roll, but
you've
got me at rave.
And that's coming up now on the 23rd in Quigley's Point in the Point Inn. We have DJ Paddy Higgerty, who is comparing and running that. If people haven't been before, it is great fun. It's very lively, very energetic. Lots of prizes have been sponsored, and it's a great way, having fun at the same time, getting these funds that we need together. So that's our next up-and-coming fundraiser, the last of the year.
And Lorraine,
but people so far,
and people can come up with their own ideas. Maybe there's someone out there who benefited from this, or may have benefited from this, and want other families to have maybe this as a potentially life-saving intervention. Maybe they want to run individual fundraisers and contribute.
Everything is welcome, and everybody, the more people that join, we are currently now, there'll be a new recruitment of members welcome, and they can look us up on muffcfr@gmail.com, or talk to us, the volunteers yourself, or come along to one of the training nights on Wednesday at 7:30 in the GA club. But the more you have out there along the way, it fills the gaps, and like that, we are complementing the National Ambulance Service. So the more people spread out along the line and linked up, with the other groups, Newton Cunningham, Buncrana, Kilmany, the more people, the better,
And Lorraine, I think it's fair to say as well, the likes of yourself, Tanya, and all the others that have been giving up their time lately to go through training, but also actually to make that commitment to answer the call to go and try and save someone's life. Of the community, you guys are from the community yourself, and you're just asking the community to back you. I think, and I don't think that's a big ask. And
to back us and back themselves.
Well, that's it.
We're there for them. We're there for them, 100%. And at the end of the day, it is a voluntary service. We will be there as much as we can. We may not get to everything, but no, that's the whole point, is to increase the chances for any family that has to go through something traumatic. And the training's there for everybody. If they wanted to come and join us, as Tanya was saying, it's invaluable for the community, definitely.
Right, and again, just to recap, any big businesses out there, when you talk of potential millions of euro turnover, to have an entire community here covered by these amazing volunteers, it would be fantastic PR, and one big donation would sort an awful lot of this out. If you're interested in that, please get in contact with us here, and we'll certainly pass it on. I mean, what an investment in the community from a business this would be. Tanya, what was I going to ask you? Something else I was going to ask you. If people want more information about the work that you're doing, or maybe they're going, right, okay, this is something I could get involved in, or maybe they've got a fundraising idea, or maybe they've donations, whatever it might be, what's the port of call, Tanya?
That would be amazing. Contact any of us, but muffcfr@gmail.com, or we have a Facebook page, Muff Community First Responders. All ideas, and everything's welcome. It's the next one now, as I say, is the 23rd of this month.
Yeah, indeed, and councillors have discretionary funding as well.
We're on that for January.
You're ahead of me. All right, which one of you is rock? Which one of you is rock, and which one of you is rave ahead of the bingo? That's what I'm interested in. Lorraine, you come across as rave, I think.
I think I'm a raver, yeah, definitely. Tanya's rock and I'm rave, absolutely.
All right, ladies, listen, well done for what you're doing. Get back in touch with us if you need any further publicity, please. Tanya McColgan there, Lorraine Lynch, members of the Muff First Responders. They're looking to establish, and are very close to establishing, a first responders service from Muff. It's the Muff branch, so they'd be covering a big distance from Redcastle to Burnfoot. Now, that's just to give you an idea. It's going to link in then to Newtown Cunningham, but all that's to be worked out, right? But these are groups of individuals, 16 of them, that God forbid there's an emergency. As you know, response times can be different. It could be a while before the ambulance can get there, but these people land where the patient is. They provide the appropriate care. That could be CPR, which is vital in an emergency, or defibrillation, which again can quite literally bring someone back to life. And they're all doing it on a volunteer basis. And all they're asking for, and quite modestly, I think, is for support in getting the gear that could end up sitting on your kitchen floor, God forbid. So the next big event they have is the 23rd of November. It's Rock and Rave Bingo. It's in the Point Inn. So you can support them that way. But any other ideas, I'm sure they're more than happy to facilitate. And if any big business or rich individual wants to get that really up and running, let us know. We'll pass it on. Please ask Martin McDermott about the need for a working group involving banks, auctioneers, engineers and lawyers, everyone involved in the conveyancing process, to get around the table and establish how remediated houses will be sold and how to get houses moving on the market where homeowners cannot sell due to mica-only readings on otherwise perfectly good houses not showing any damage. Good question. I put that actually to Martin. It's definitely an area I think that needs looking at, because we need houses in the housing market, don't we? Why is Minister Darragh O'Brien so shy of coming to Donegal? Because we will not be his voters. Is that hanging his party colleague and minister in the county out to dry? I'm not sure. That's up to you guys to describe. We now have a situation in our area where we have a small 2-teacher, 30 children Irish-speaking national school in the Gaeltacht, which already accepted some Ukrainian children and now is being told that up to 30 IP people are arriving in a local hotel and will be attending the school. Now, how is that going to work for the local children? How are teachers going to cope teaching in Irish to locals and try and accommodate children that may not have a word of English? I don't know the answer to that question. But that is a question a listener has. Okay, that's where we have to leave it on the show today. Tomorrow we're back with a very interesting programme as always. Lots to discuss with the Friday panel. That's entertainment and so much more besides. Stay tuned. John Breslin is coming up around the Northwest live from the annual Northwest Future of Energy Conference in Derry.